Today is Tuesday, April 16th. Can you guys believe what happened on Game of Thrones Sunday? Can you believe that the Night King is actually a Targaryen? My mind is blown.
More importantly, yesterday was tax day. So
Oh, yeah.
if that's a surprise to you, you're screwed.
Yeah. You should have filed an extension.
Gonna cost you some dollars.
Oopsie.
Oh, well, let's talk about starting with the FCC. It's kind of a trend. We don't quite have, I mean, it's a little bit FCC, but if Donald Trump is tangentially involved in any story these days,
That's all they talk about.
his name must be the headline.
Trump puts the kibosh on nationalized 5G network rumors. But the White House and the FCC promise more spectrum for the wireless industry and a $20 billion fund for rural broadband to ensure U.S. dominance in 5G. Some of these words don't go together.
Well, I have never heard the word kibosh before.
Kibosh.
Is it, what's the etymology?
It's Jewish.
Oh.
Some kind of, I think.
I've always said kibosh, but okay.
Pretty sure it's
I mean, that's how I read it, but yeah, I don't know if that's accurate.
It means put a stop to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I inferred that from the headline, but I'd never seen it before. I learned a new thing today, and so have you, chat.
No, the chat already knew.
We definitely did.
So, the question that was burning in my mind, and I'm sure it's burning in yours, is where does this $20 billion come from? Well, it's going to come out of that money that we were already giving the companies to roll out broadband. Except now, instead of broadband, they're going to roll out 5G.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't the thing with 5G that it allows for higher density installations so that there's less power required from device to device and ergo more bandwidth? Because one tower covering a large geographic area, the tower basically has a finite amount of bandwidth. And if you have a lot of 5G towers, they can all use the same area of the spectrum because they're using less transmit and receive power. So you can use more towers in other areas that are serving people in other areas independently. I don't know. Because, like, in a rural area, are we really going to put up one 5G tower per person in a rural area? Because that's about the population density we're talking about.
It's cost effective.
Yeah, I mean, something's not right here.
Man, with $20 billion, should be able to just blanket the earth on them, right? Why not? And we've seen in the past.
That's 3 towers in Verizon money.
But won't anybody think of the poor executives?
There's no question that all $20 billion of those dollars will be put to good use, too.
Yeah.
There's no way that they'll just take the money, pocket it, and raise prices.
As has happened every time the FCC has done something like this.
This time's different, though. It's definitely going to be different.
Yeah, because this is 5G. 5G, if you didn't know, is going to save the economy and thus the world.
I like how people in rural areas are only going to have 5G. They're going to be relegated to the most terrible internet ever. Like, the wire's not even going to be an option for them. It's like, yeah, we give up. You only get 5G in a rural area. That's terrible.
But you can get on your phone, play your Candy Crush.
Tinder.
Yay. Tinder. No, it's farmersonly.com in rural areas.
Do they even have
That's
a
how my
mobile
cousin
app?
met his wife.
I wouldn't think that Farmers Only would be a big mobile app. I'd see that more as a desktop destination.
No, I'm pretty sure they did it on their phone.
Oh,
I'll have to ask my cousin.
5G in rural
I'll
areas.
update. That'll be an update for next week.
It's going to be like the fixed house on the side, the fixed antenna on the side of your house. It's like you get wireless internet that's just awful all the time.
Do you list your acreage on your, is that like a field that you can fill in?
I don't see. My cousin only lives on like an acre of land. Like, he's not really a farmer. He's a groundskeeper, but
Oh, that sounds like fake. You shouldn't be able to use that unless you're a legitimate farmer.
he emails me later and he's like, "Why'd you have to like out me that way?"
He's banned.
I don't think he watches this.
Well, net neutrality continues to be hotly debated, although it's kind of a done deal. And the House has done a great thing, but once again, it's a done deal. Mitch McConnell, as long as he draws breath, will not allow this.
Rattling, turtly breaths.
Democrats' net neutrality bill passes the House, but Republicans in the Senate promise to shut it down before it gets to a vote in that chamber. Obviously.
It would be a complete repeal, but it ain't going to happen. So don't get your hopes up.
The wind is just whipping outside. I don't know if they can hear that.
Yeah, the wind was so savage today that my garbage can, which was there's a retaining wall and then the side of the house, it's stuffed into that corner. So the wind can't even push it in that direction. but it was out in the road. And it's got 3 garbage bags in it. It wasn't empty.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I fixed my bench like 3 times today. I keep fixing it, and I don't know why, because it just tilts right back over into the bushes.
The wind gods are strong at my house. And one thing that the wind gods are big advocates of, you wouldn't expect this, is recording people without their consent.
Big tech lobbying gutted a bill that would ban recording you without your consent. The Illinois Keep Internet Devices Safe Act would have empowered average people to sue big companies for recording them without consent, but industry association lobbying defanged it. So now the law passed, but it's only the attorney general that can bring charges in that state.
And you know they're going to every time.
Unless, someone pays them some money not to do that. Which that would never happen. No, that's not how our political system works.
This was Google and Amazon, and obviously they don't want this because they're doing that very thing every day, every second.
It's every day, bro.
Would you not say that it's likely that every second of every day, Google or Amazon is recording someone without their consent?
Yes. A lot of people, in fact, more than just one person.
Bet.
Well, we can't prove it because they'll never admit it. But I would still feel safe to declare myself the winner.
I thought we already proved it with those law cases where, like, somebody was shot and they had an Alexa and then they turned over the recordings.
But you'd have to have a case for every second. You'd have to prove it. I mean, you can't just extrapolate the court.
Oh, that it happened to be recording at that time versus
right,
just...
yeah. That was one instance.
It was just a one-off. Yeah, that would never happen.
That sounds like a disingenuous argument straight from a prosecutor. It's like, oh, it's not recording all the time. It just happened to be recording at the exact set time that we needed it.
I thought you were going to say straight from a prostitute, and I was like, whoa.
This article, so we'll talk about the article, but after we talk about the article, we have to talk about the stock photo because I'm mystified by it. But the story here has to do with, and we've all seen this, where I guess the most recent one I've seen is, the GDPR cookie form, where it's like, okay, you just click this button if you want to go ahead and look at the website. And then there's this almost grayed out to oblivion, like, or you could click here and manage your cookies. And you click on that, and then you have to go through and unclick every cookie. And there's a giant list of them. And then you click, it's like, oh, we don't think that you meant to do that. Just click here to undo that and go ahead and look at the website. And then there's another, like, almost invisible button. Or if you're sure, you could click here. It's forms that manipulate you. And the senators don't like it.
Senators introduced a bill that would ban websites from using manipulative consent forms. Platforms have a problem with informed consent. A new Senate bill might change that. Now let's see the stock photo. Oh, Lord.
Oh, no.
What does this have to do with manipulative forms?
It kind of looks like an Oompa Loompa. It's orange with green hair.
It has nothing to do with the story, is my point.
That is that's a strange stock photo. Is it?
Why would you choose
What's the caption? I can't read it from here.
It's just, it's given the source of the image.
Broadly gender spectrum collection.
So it's saying that that's the source of the image. It has nothing to do with.
Oh, that's a new thing. That stock photography thing is like to do different people with different identities, which is fine. But it's like this doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand. So are they trying to get woke points? Maybe
is Vice low key saying like something that looks like it's something else?
No, I think they just looked up cell phone and they picked the first image instead of like finding something that's relevant. Anyway, we didn't really talk about the story. We just talked about the stock photo.
Well, it seems like maybe a good idea, but it could be abused, I think. But there are a lot of, they mentioned terms of service and how no one could reasonably be expected to read the terms of service, and Facebook's stuff. Actually, they've got some pictures. Let's look at the pictures.
Let's look at the rest. The rest are probably good.
Whenever I see a story like this, I think about Google. Because, like, if you show the normal people, like, their Google account history things, like, go here and you can manage everything that Google has on you. I've shown that to people, and they spent hours just looking over that, and they're like, wow, it remembers everything.
So here you go. It's like, hey, you want to approve this? And you've got okay and learn more. And I think when you click learn more, that's when you can say no. But clearly, that's not good because most people don't realize they can just say no.
Dark pattern.
Motherboard also has this thing that it pops up and it's like, hey, do you want to allow notices from Motherboard? And it just does it a lot. And you have to be like, block.
Almost
think,
every news website does that now, and it's really annoying when you're trying to read the articles.
I mean, there's a global setting for that, but I think the newest Firefox disables that by default.
Nice.
Which is nice. Firefox doing the Lord's work.
Based.
We've talked about Amazon and Microsoft and Google, and they have these AI systems that are super controversial. They're working with cops, they're working with the military, they're doing these pre-crime databases, and it's all kind of scary. And so the government is trying to get in front of that, but it may be from a vector that isn't expected.
A new bill would force companies to check their algorithms for bias. So say you come up with an algorithm and it like tries to figure out homes and stuff. This is going to force companies to check their algorithms for bias. Basically, like, you remember the whole Facebook housing thing where it was like it's not the advertising, but like the algorithm, like, you might be interested in this content, was like, no, you're not going to be interested in this. You're too poor. They would not do that anymore, basically. Or if when they're caught doing it, they can't say, "Oops, algorithm."
And they mentioned Amazon's facial recognition crime thing. Real hard time telling black people apart. So you'd have to prove, I don't know how you would positively prove that, but somehow you'd have to prove that your algorithm wasn't biased at all. But they also, like, how the way those things work, they're so black box, those learning algorithms. So how could you ever hope to, you could always have deniability there.
I like to imagine, like, you get like a little UX pop-up that's like, hey, we think you're probably too poor for this. Can you confirm your salary? Like,
Please enter your social security number so that we can check your tax records. What about, this is a house being guarded by code?
I would live in a house guarded by code. I mean, that'd be cool
it's
with
a
that.
semi-transparent fence, not even useful.
Well, it might not be for
I do actually like
privacy,
this
but
image.
this, it could keep people out.
I bet Rue would like that yard.
I could see that it being an invention of the future. Like, you live in a posh neighborhood, and like you approach the house, and it's like the invisible fence is there. But then when you step far away, you can't see the fence. That would like, if you could buy that in a wealthy neighborhood, people would definitely buy that.
I love videos of people who take that clear plastic wrap and set up a trap for their cats, and the cats run into it. I want to do that.
Have you
to my
done that
cat.
to your cats
No,
yet?
I just thought about it.
What are they up to on the millimeter count? Boxes.
11 has stopped them.
And they can't open it.
No. But they're growing, so
They're getting swollen.
I expect
They're
8.
making gains every day.
He did 8 without too much problem. And then I went to 11 because I had 3 boxes left in that box, and I was like, okay, let me just put a stop to this. But he did move it just a little bit, but he couldn't keep the momentum going.
Wasn't he eating something gross out of that cabinet?
Bacon.
No, he was the Lazy Susan. There's nothing in there, but he was pushing it open, and then he could jump onto that, and then jump onto the counter. So that was his stepping stone. But now they've got the table. There's no way for me to keep them off the table. So it may just be that they've lost interest.
You should just do get like the things that they put on like letters for pigeons and stuff, where it just spikes. Have a spike trap rolled out on
I'll
the
just
kitchen
eat
table.
my breakfast on a spike trap.
Yeah, that's fine.
YouTube had themselves a live congressional debate. That's great. Get the people involved and have an open forum. Except here's the thing about open forums. People get to express their opinions that YouTube doesn't like.
YouTube has disabled comments on streams of a congressional hearing on white nationalism because they were too hateful.
Surprising no one except for YouTube.
Who could have imagined?
I don't think YouTube realizes how bad the problems have become.
But they also don't realize that these kinds of groups, the more that you push them into a corner and try to silence them and say that they're not allowed to have a voice, the louder they're going to become. Like my cats.
Surely they could have just had like a moderator
Someone
doing
inside
warnings or something instead of just blanket disabling everything.
someone inside of Google is literally saying, what can we come up with that is the community equivalent of a water bottle spray to the face?
Which
That's
is
what warning systems are for.
completely ineffective. The cats have been sneezing a lot, so now I've had to give that up too because I'm worried that I'm making them sick or something.
It's probably just the pollen in the air because it's
You
springtime.
think they're allergic cats?
might
They
be.
have they've got autism. They might as well have allergies, right?
Yeah. Well, they're all vaccinated, right? They're all up to date on their shots.
That's what their little papers say, but I wasn't there to witness it, so who knows?
Maybe they lied.
Well, no, but because they've got the autism, so they must be vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
That's
That's how that works.
in the wake of GDPR and other overregulation in the EU and those juicy fines that they're extracting from the big tech companies, you can almost see our government salivating and thinking, oh, I want to take a big bite out of Facebook. And Miss Nancy Pelosi's right there at the forefront.
Silicon Valley's self-regulating days probably should be over, Nancy Pelosi says. Yeah, so she's talking about specifically the Communications Decency Act, like the safe harbor thing, where it's like an online forum is not responsible for the content that its users post. And she's looking at what's happening across the pond and New Zealand, and she seems to be saying, that looks like a good idea, which is sort of horrifying.
The quote that like chilled me when I was reading this is she literally said 230, which is the part that represents that, you can't be held liable for what someone says on your forum, is a gift that we've given to the tech companies, as if she is God that grants basic rights. I just want to slap her. Oh, it makes me so sick to read that shit.
You don't have, like, the only rights you have are the ones we explicitly give you, and it's like, well, that's not exactly how the Constitution's framed there, Nancy. That's not how
Could be
it
dark
is.
times ahead for the Level 1 forums.
Well, for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time something terrible happens, and human history teaches us something terrible is going to happen, and it's going to get discussed and broadcast on social media. Every time that happens, they'll tighten that screw a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
Let's all just get sad and silent for a minute.
this was pre-scrolled. Tom's Hardware. You know what? Tom's Hardware links won't even open out of Outlook anymore because that stupid comma.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, Tom's Hardware?
Commas are technically not valid in a URL, but I guess it works anyway.
No, it doesn't. WYSIWYGs and other parsers break Tom's Hardware. They break. Stop doing it.
What content management system are they using that allows that in the URL?
It's got to be something custom and awful.
Some
Yeah.
bespoke thing that some guy's in love with. And he's like, no, it's perfect.
It hasn't been updated since 2008.
Read the standard. Anyway, Google, they let people search your files.
So, yeah.
Alleges.
Tom's Hardware has this article. Google helps government conduct warrantless searches, alleges Epic. So, this has to do with, like, there's a list of file hashes that the government maintains, and it's like nobody should have any of these files. And Google will happily search all their stuff online to see if any files match the hash exactly. But somehow Google has also decided that they can use an algorithm to look for files that are similar to the files that match the hashes. And they're not really forthcoming with, like, what the algorithm is. And so Epic is saying, well, we don't really think it's a big deal that you're looking for hashes. But then when you start doing the fuzzy match thing, innocent people are going to get caught up in that. And you got to be more transparent about that.
They'll also search inside your archives for that kind of thing. So this stock photo, they have children playing.
On a Chromebook.
These are images of children, but they're not playing.
There's probably other stuff in there too, but yeah, it's mostly that.
It's like the Center for
Child Exploitation.
Yeah. So, and as we've always talked about, you take the worst portion of society and you abuse their rights, and then everybody else's rights get abused along with them.
We probably could do a separate video just on that topic, because I don't see too much of a problem with searching file hashes, or just having a list of flagged file hashes that, are made. But anything beyond that is, you can't do it algorithmically. You just can't.
Well, they don't just flag the files, they immediately pass all of your information to law enforcement.
Yeah. So under the U.S. Constitution, this kind of search would not be constitutionally permissible, but because Google is a corporation and you're sharing your data with them, that's also allowed.
But it also opens up the ability for other people to gain access to your account and then burn you.
Yeah.
So, could be terrible.
And there are several cases where bad actors in the law enforcement community have weaponized these files that they knew would flag those hashes, and then just sat back and watched as chaos ensued.
A lot of people don't like law enforcement. A lot of people have an issue with the God complex that has become our law enforcement agencies, and they strike back.
Hackers have published the personal data on thousands of U.S. police officers and federal agents. So this wasn't the FBI was hacked, but apparently the FBI and other federal agencies work with companies like Google, and some of these companies are a bit lax with their security. And so the agencies and individuals in those agencies that have worked with these third-party companies have been published.
Somebody actually got in touch with the hacker and to confirm that this was real and ask him his motivation and everything. And his motivation was he was bored and he wanted some experience hacking.
I thought he was going to say, fuck the police.
No, not even
Yeah,
that.
police.
He didn't even have any kind of specific ideology against them, as far as I know. He
was like, I just wanted the challenge.
yeah, I guess so. It's probably going to haunt him. Going to come back to haunt him.
Yeah, that's good.
One thing about law enforcement, like if you get your car stolen, they don't get super motivated about that. But when somebody comes after them, they can bring the full weight of that investigatory power, and they're usually really good at that. I got a flash of something. I thought Krista was on her phone.
No.
In a
I was
twisted.
taking
What are you drinking today?
coffee because I was a little sleepy.
It smells good.
Thanks. It's hazelnut.
We pretty sure we covered this story. If not this story, several like it. This is the tracking of all like the new ankle bands for home arrest and stuff like that. They'll send back a crazy amount of data. They have microphones, two-way communication, which seems a little invasive, but it seems extra invasive when we're talking about children.
Chicago is tracking kids with GPS monitors that can call and record them without consent. Cook County has a new contract for juvenile ankle monitors that critics say are an invasion of privacy. Listen,
But they're kids. They don't need privacy.
there's like what percentage do you think of parents are like if you had a device that was just $10 a month and you could strap one on your kid and you knew where they were at all times and their heartbeat and you could get a video feed and an audio feed 24/7? Seems like a significant percentage of parents would be like, yeah, sign me up. That sounds great.
There it is.
I understand the impulse from like a parent's like, and you're worried about your child, but like you got to let them get out in the world.
This is not even that. This is like the juvenile. Like,
Oh yeah, juvenile detention, I imagine.
Yeah.
you may be having, like the children may have some developmental problems or their parents aren't.
Their parents actually don't care where they are, so now the state has to care where they are.
Yeah.
But
So,
all of that, and these people who have committed crimes.
yeah.
So, okay, fine. If you want to make sure, it's either house them in jail or give them this. This seems a little bit better. The problem with this is there's a whole group of people who have the ability to call this thing, and the calls are not like, oh, let me answer the call. The authorities are calling. It just immediately turns the mic on when the call comes in.
Damn
they-
it, you're not allowed near 7-Eleven. It's
Right.
like, oh, sorry.
Whatever you're doing, they can now listen to and talk to you from your ankle. So.
What if
seems
you're
a
like
little-
violating your parole or something and like
They're going to call you and warn you.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
You're
So-
getting in the danger
no, I mean,
zone.
like you're high or something like that. You're doing drugs and then like your ankle starts talking to you and it's like, oh man, what's going on?
You grab a hacksaw and you start
Oh,
get it off. But yeah, that is part of there's probably a lot of gang people because this is Chicago. This is probably like a gang intervention thing. So if you go near neighborhoods where there's gang activity, your ankle's like, hang on, bro.
doesn't that like most of Chicago? They're like,
Turn
what
it
are you
up.
supposed to do?
Yeah, they're lost. They're lost to us. The Jedi. Did we talk about the Jedi cloud before? I think we did.
We did.
Because it was about Oracle, and Oracle was working really, really hard. to get
Double
this.
overtime.
They're like, actually, they talked about how they were getting out of doing any kind of development hardware. They were putting everything on the back burner, and they're like, we're going to be a government cloud company. That's what Oracle is. But guess what? That's
cloud.
not what Oracle is.
No. Much to Oracle's chagrin, Pentagon names Microsoft and Amazon as $10 billion Jedi Cloud contract finalists. This is a winner-take-all contract, which I think is an interesting choice for the Pentagon. But, I mean, let's face it. Oracle is not providing the same kind of cloud that Microsoft and Amazon is. Amazon is just used to the massive stacks of government dollars, and they don't want to give that up. But they got caught with their pants down in this whole, like, cloud revolution thing.
What were they doing with their pants down?
You don't want to know. Because they were making a lot of money.
The cloud pulled back, and then it was just Oracle with their pants down around their ankles.
It's funny, though. I mean, IBM and some other people complained. Oracle is actually suing the federal government because this is improper contracting procedure, which is an interesting take. Oracle thinks that there should be multiple vendors that this thing gets awarded to, and Microsoft said, yeah, maybe multiple vendors makes sense, but
But you don't want two different, because their cloud solution is not the same as either of the other two's cloud solutions.
Seems like you're just asking for a headache.
Yeah, you don't want to have to build an unnecessary marriage between those. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Having been on the receiving end of an Oracle licensing audit, Oracle can just go away.
Well, they're not going to go away.
That's like the politest Wendell, go fuck yourself. I've dropped the F-bomb twice. I have to stop.
Oh,
I'm salty today.
wow.
There goes the monetization.
Filthy.
Why don't you go to the
Sorry,
Level 1
Krista.
store and buy some stuff? Because help us.
I don't think they won't demonetize you just for swearing, will they?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that'll demonetize.
I mean, usually we have to watch out for like titles. And
with that, I will not say that you shouldn't do that.
Like
Because
3 episodes in the last 2 weeks. And it's crazy because sometimes they'll demonetize it right away and then bring it back. And then other times it'll be monetized and then they demonetize it like 2 days later. So it's really weird.
It's how long it takes for the Tesla fanboys to report us. I've heard from some disillusioned Trump people who are, finally catching on that he's not going to do the things that he promised he would. He's not going to be like their golden god. Although he did save me some money on taxes this year.
Orange God.
I'll throw him a bone on that one. Not that makes up for everything else. But it seems like a lot of those people are pivoting to Andrew Yang. I don't know too much about Andrew Yang, except that he's not, like conservative. But he's maybe a little more libertarian than anybody's used to. Anyway, he seems to be pretty popular on both sides of the aisle. And he's got some interesting new ideas.
Andrew Yang plans to use a 3D hologram for remote campaigning. So he's going to do campaigning and be in 3 or 4 places at once. So he's going to be, live campaigning, but he's only actually going to be in one of those places, and the other 3 places is going to be a video feed, basically, but a holographic video feed.
You think there's any chance that Andrew Yang is this much physically larger than Tupac?
No,
Look at him.
there's no way.
So-
I've never heard of him either.
I've heard of him, yeah. He's
Tupac or
come on, you know who Tupac is. The Illuminati?
Yeah, Shakur. Is that his last name?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah,
still alive?
the same people doing that did the Tupac hologram are going to do Yang, and then so this is going to be, instead of going to every place to campaign, he's going to go to one place, and then the hologram machine's going to go to other places. Which,
It's neat for security.
but okay, isn't there?
I would not really want to go. I probably wouldn't go see someone speak like that anyway.
Right.
But like, if I was interested in that, would you really want to go see a hologram?
Can we pop into the Hatsune Miku hologram thing? Because I could stream that on my
Could
desk.
he be my personal assistant?
Well, how about
Assistant?
we just televise it? Put it on YouTube. Why? This is so unnecessary.
YouTube is so toxic, though. That's no.
Yeah, someone might have to moderate that, and that will take literally minutes.
You don't think a live political campaign stop is one of the most toxic? I mean, remember the Trump campaign? People were getting stabbed.
Oh man, I knew people who went to like some of the Trump rallies, and like some people went just to protest, and other people just went to like boo, and then some people just went to watch the drama. I was like, I'm just mad because you guys are stopping up traffic all over the place.
When we can't have a civil discussion, functional society ceases.
Yeah, we're there. You are here. Remember the Silk Road? The place where you could buy drugs on the dark web?
That's been almost completely memory hold at this point.
Well, it went away, but the second iteration of the Silk Road went away without them ever catching the mastermind. And bad news for him.
Silk Road 2 founder Dread Pirate Roberts II caught and jailed for 5 years. There was arrested. It was Thomas White, 5 years and 4 months for his role in a huge dark web drug ring marketplace. Well, it turns out that the number
weird
2
headline.
guy was an undercover guy, and he had chat logs as this guy transitioned from Sync something else to the DPR2. Like the guy sort of it was all in public IRC, I guess. The
Also,
transition.
Since then, this guy's become a public figure, a privacy advocate. If you pull off something like that and you get out, or at least you think you got out, you disappear. You got to be gone from. They mentioned that place was making, and this is just commission. I don't know how much percentage they charged, but they're making $100,000 a week.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of cat toys.
it's almost like people love drugs. Oh man, my cats love that cat toy.
He got a package on Friday. It was like this giant box, and I picked it up, and it was like there was nothing in it. And so I handed it to Ryan. I was like, "Oh, you got a package downstairs," and it was literally just like a little feather toy. That was all it was in its huge box.
But it's not a feather; it's a stuffed animal.
Oh, okay.
And they will drag that thing from one side of the house to the other. They
I
like the
love
little
it.
stuffed animal more than they do the like.
Does it have catnip in it?
I think so, but they don't seem to like get the catnip high. They just really like it.
Ooh, we should get some more catnip toys for him.
You know what? I don't need to introduce them to drugs. They're already
listen.
troubled youth.
That was a relation to the story. Maybe you can get some off Silk Road. Even though it's not really a thing anymore.
It's just,
I need the really strong stuff.
I need a Bitcoin worth of catnip.
High quality.
Oh, Huawei. Huawei and the U.S. government are locked in an eternal struggle. And the U.S. scored a big win this week.
Undersea cable. Yeah, U.S. firm wins Oz back to bid to block Huawei from subsea Pacific cables. The U.S. is totally not going to do the whole Room 641A thing like they did with AT&T in Atlanta. Totally not going to do that with this undersea cable. Totally, that's not going to be a thing because they were really worried about Huawei doing the Room 641A undersea cable tapping thing that they did
I like
in
how
Atlanta.
the dig against Huawei is they're in league with the Chinese government, and you can't have that. There has to be a full separation. But this situation was a private American company bidding for the same contract while the American government went in on their behalf and shot down Huawei's attempt at it.
Yeah. Something. But
Yeah,
we're the good
right.
guys. No.
You've all surely heard of this news already. If not,
They complained because we didn't cover it last week, but it wasn't a thing when we did the news last week.
yeah. So really nothing breaking new here, but we should talk about it.
Julian Assange faces U.S. extradition after arrest at Ecuadorian embassy. So I've read all the stories, and the next one is as bizarre as the last one. So the embassy invited the UK authorities in to arrest him, and apparently, you know how like the UK said that they've only got one or two officers stationed outside, and there is only like one or two officers stationed outside, and then there wasn't anybody stationed outside. Apparently, they've had like a dozen people in plain clothes stationed outside the embassy for 7 years.
Look, you embarrass the government, you got to go. And they will tirelessly track you. They will go to the ends of the earth. As Marcellus Wallace said, if he goes to Indochina, I want someone hiding in a bowl of rice.
There's a lot of really disturbing stuff. The embassy said that he didn't clean up after his cat, and like his cat.
Did you see the other big story was everybody was worried about the cat. No one knows
Oh,
what's
yeah.
happened to the
Didn't he
cat.
adopt it out?
I think he did way before this.
The lawyers said that it was taken to his family or something, but
That's not what I read.
the UK said that the embassy said they gave it to a shelter. So, but they gave it to a shelter a long time ago because he wouldn't clean up after it. So, but why? Like, that's so bizarre. Like, it doesn't. There was a picture that was released, but the picture was actually very old. So, I don't know. It's just so bizarre.
But the story here goes a little bit deeper in that Ecuador has a new leader. I think they have a president, right?
They just got a loan.
Yeah, and that new leader wanted an IMF loan, International Monetary Fund, which is not supposed to be run by the U.S., but seems like the U.S. government this is my speculation, may have gone to Ecuador and been like, you guys need this, $1 billion loan? We'd really like Julian Assange. And the new Ecuadorian president was like, done.
He'd cleaned the litter box for the last time.
That's literally what they said. The article was like, we would have been fine with him staying in the embassy, but he was a terrible human being for like cleaning up and stuff, not meddling. It was just like he was just dirty.
Well, he did WikiLeaks on
He did,
the
yeah.
Ecuadorian government while he was hiding. I mean, that was stupid. I guess you can sort of respect his,
Devotion to the cause.
Yeah, it's like dedication to the truth, okay? But can you really be surprised? One other twist here is that Switzerland has those rape charges against him, which
Sweden.
I think... Oh, is it Sweden? Yeah.
Sweden.
Which have been proven false, right?
Yeah.
But now I think they're trying to get him possibly to prevent the U.S. from torturing him.
Yes.
So it's just this crazy.
Yeah, Sweden actually dropped the charges, and so he's being arrested for skipping bail on the charges from before Sweden dropped them. So, like, Sweden dropped the charges, So, but Theresa May was like, no one is above the law. And it's like, okay.
Except me. The other weird thing about this is it seems like it's not just Assange who's being targeted in Ecuador, but also his friends.
Swedish man jailed in Ecuador over alleged WikiLeaks involvement. Authorities investigating whether Ola Bini was working with WikiLeaks and Assange as part of an attempt to destabilize Ecuador. So this is somebody who has been a registered visitor for Assange a bunch of times. But I think that, like, there was some famous actress that tweeted a bunch. Pamela Anderson, yeah. And she's also gone to visit Julian Assange. So,
no, they are, the accusation is he was involved in that leak that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't think,
and that he helps run the site and do that kind of stuff.
I don't think Pam was in on the leaks.
Computer skills or
I think
not.
she was maybe dating him for a brief
I
moment.
thought she was dating him.
Yeah.
I seem to remember reading that somewhere.
Wow.
I don't know how true that is, but
Neat.
That's quite a dance card she's got, right? It's very varied. You got Tommy Lee, and then the Kid Rock. Okay, that makes sense. But then Julian Assange. One of these things is not like the other.
It was
Now,
the cat.
You mentioned Theresa May.
she was like, "Oh, he's so sensitive."
It's interesting. You said Theresa May said that no one is above the law, which
It's a
really
perfect lead-in.
goes well with this story.
Investigatory Powers Bill. Politicians exempt themselves from new wide-ranging spying laws. Oh, if you're in the UK, you really should look at this because it's literally, we can spy on your internet history. Your ISP has got to record that. We can get that at any time. It doesn't really, I wouldn't, like, for the US system, I wouldn't say that the paperwork required to do that even rises to the level of a warrant. Unless you're a politician, and then it has to be reviewed by the prime minister and somebody else.
I think it does require some kind of warrant here, but you can get it from a very low-level judge.
Yeah.
Almost nobody. But if you're a politician, it has to be the prime minister himself. That is not what they wanted. That's a watered-down version of what they wanted, which was the prime minister and the leader of parliament or whatever. Both had to agree. If either dissented, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
this is a dark day for the UK. Like this one kind of flew under the radar, but that's actually they're gonna. I mean, what they've been doing here in the US is doing a very small carve out, and then they drive the Titanic through that tiny little hole. And so this hole is already a Titanic-sized hole that we're gonna try to fit the moon through. So it's bad day for humanity.
British humanity.
Well, I don't know the whole.
Probably eventually us,
but
but
look at,
it's not our problem yet.
our government looks at GDPR and
They're like, ooh.
they want that.
I mean, Assange is probably a terrible person, but he's also a journalist. So, I mean,
He does seem like an asshole.
yeah. But just because he is, I don't think that he should be railroaded.
Anybody who brings to light government misbehavior should be protected because it's more good than bad.
Or given more of a benefit of the doubt. Like, maybe held by Sweden, because I trust Sweden not to torture him, but anybody else, I don't think so.
Give him a stipend to live on.
Well, remember
doing this work.
Remember he faked the news that he was on the plane with the Ecuadorian president, and they grounded the plane, and that was crazy. Like, that's completely nuts. You can't do that. That was a political plane, and they boarded the plane anyway, and it's like, look at that.
The other thing that the EU wants to do is they want to get ahead of technology. They see that technology got ahead of them. They are playing catch up, trying to wrap their iron fist around all of our online stuff. And so they're looking at the new horizons in technology, and they're like, we must immediately legislate on this.
Europe to pilot AI ethics rules and a call for participants. So, yeah, AI could take over the world, but
These seem very unrealistic. Human agency and oversight, okay, fine. Robustness and safety, what does that really mean? Privacy and data governance, yeah, right. Transparency with AI, we talked about this in the other story, a lot of those systems,
They don't tell you how they learn.
yeah, you're not going to understand them. Even the people who build them are sometimes a little baffled. I don't know why I decided to use the shovel to, fill up this hole out. We thought maybe that would happen. It did. And we're cool with it. We have no idea how it happened.
we have no idea why it's recognizing a banana with a holographic sticker as a fire truck, but it's probably fine.
Non-discrimination and fairness. Of course, we talked about this too.
It can't.
It's not that it feels bias. It's looking at data and coming up with a conclusion. And sometimes that leads to stereotyping. That's just how it is. So a lot of these seem impossible. That's one of these things where if you can't build an AI that it adheres to this, do you just not build an AI? Do we just hamstring the AI community?
It's like we're not going to have running water in indoor plumbing unless we can not use lead pipes. And it's like, well, there was a lead pipe stage where we had to have lead pipes for indoor plumbing. I mean, that's just... they knew that lead pipes were bad.
No, I'd rather have poop in the street.
Some of the leaders went a little crazy. Rome burned a few times.
Well, that's just the price of progress.
That's exactly right.
Do you know how much Genghis Khan advanced human civilization?
Didn't we find out his name's not pronounced Genghis the other day?
Genghis, according to Dan Carlin.
That
who
makes me uncomfortable.
Probably did the research.
Genghis. Leroy Jenkins.
That'd be a good online username.
Oh, that would be a good username.
The UK is not to be left behind by all this oversight. They've decided to go after some of the big gaming companies.
UK investigates Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony over game service practices. This has to do with like deceptive and recurring billing things, little things like that are annoying.
Well, they apparently some of those services, Sony in particular, you can lock in to so much a month, and then they'll raise the price. But if you ever leave for any reason and come back, you lose your locked-in price, and they don't like that. Although if you raise your price, do you just raise everybody's price? Isn't it better? I don't know. They should give you free. So I thought that Sony still had free like matchmaking and stuff online, but the commenters pointed out that's not true anymore.
Wow.
To play online with the PS4, you have to pay. So every major service.
Why does anybody buy a console?
That's all you got?
They're plebs.
Oh, there come the downvotes.
And Microsoft taking fire on the gaming front, but also from the EU on the software front.
EU data supervisor probes EU body's software deals with Microsoft. So this is, hey, is Microsoft doing any kind of backroom dealing or licensing or something? Because that's why everybody uses Microsoft, because that's probably against GDPR.
Remember, was it Germany that went Linux for a couple of years? And then mysteriously, somebody was like, hey, forget this Linux stuff. Let's go back to paying for our software. And we wondered what was going on there. Was there a backroom deal?
Apparently this guy did too. He's going to be disappeared soon, probably.
I'll have to get rid of his cat too.
The race is on to get back to the moon. Manned mission to the moon. And Israel, they didn't go for the manned mission, but they did want to get up there with their bear shit probe.
Israel's
Bear
Bereshit
shit.
probe crashes on the moon. So it was not supposed to do that.
But it did technically make it to the moon, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It did, yes.
It
It
made
is
it
on the moon.
technically correct.
They have a lasting presence on the moon. Now, this is a pic it took as it was on its way down.
It's a golden ticket.
A golden ticket to crash on the moon, I guess.
Small country, big dreams. Nice.
Dreams that crashed.
But technically made it.
No, they did. Actually,
No one can criticize them. They technically made it.
it's funny you say that because they did declare this a win. They're like, yeah, we feel like we accomplished a lot because we're a tiny little country and we have a spaceship burning on the moon right now. And they've announced Bear Shit 2.0. They're doing it again.
Nice.
They've learned from their mistakes. They're getting right back on that moon horse.
Right back on that rocket. This time we're going to put people on it.
In Canada, a bizarre flex from the Canadian Mounted Police.
If you're wearing earbuds but your phone is dead, is it still distracted driving? BC court says yes. Actually, the judge said that for this ruling that is based on a previous ruling that if your phone is anywhere that you could use it, that is a violation. Doesn't that mean that if you're driving in Canada, you have to put your phone in the trunk?
Glove
So I
box,
keep
maybe?
mine in my purse in the passenger seat. But like in
You
theory,
could-
I could walk over. I could
But
just reach over.
It was more nuanced than that because they talked about there's some weird wording about engaging the device as some way of using it, and they argued that
like
by
voice
putting
control, maybe.
by putting both of the earbuds in, you were engaging the device through your ears, so you could be interfacing with it. The ears were an interface point. but 1 is okay. 2 isn't. It's very bizarre. But this person fought it and lost. So it's going to be $368, and God knows what they're going to have to pay in legal fees from losing that case.
As punitive punishment for even questioning anything.
The Mounties don't like to be questioned.
No, absolutely not. If you even look up at them when they're mounted on their horses, they will beat you in the face with a baton.
They slap you with their syrup hands.
They will apologize afterwards, but the beating will continue. So, not just Microsoft taking heat from the EU, it's also Apple.
Dutch regulators want to know whether Apple is favoring its own apps. I can tell you the answer is yes.
Yes.
And it talks about how, like, Apple Music and Spotify. I'll give you a real easy one. The Flashlight app. Flashlight app didn't used to be built into Apple's iOS. Now it is. Guess what's not allowed on the App Store anymore?
There's no
Flashlight apps.
Yeah. And there's also, what was the thing? There's some kind of security thing, and Apple made their own version, and then the other version that was on the App Store just like, oh, you're not allowed on here anymore.
Yeah.
So
that's happened a few times. So the Dutch are going to be in for a surprise or a treat, depending on what they're after.
probably a juicy fine that will be less than the amount of money that Apple made by violating the rules. And now a short China block, and starting out with maybe the most disturbing but entertaining story out of China, which has to do with not CRISPR babies.
Chinese scientists have put a human brain genes in monkeys, and yes, they may be smarter. So this is the gene that has to do with like the folds of your brain, because we have a mutated gene. We actually have like 3 or 4 copies. Human beings have like 3 or 4 copies of a gene, and that makes your brain like fold in on itself, which creates more surface area, which
Means you're smarter.
is somehow related to intelligence. And so they did that with these monkeys, and yeah, it turned out they're smarter.
Yeah, well,
They're studying them for other effects, but yeah.
well, maybe it made them smarter. What they're trying to unlock here is like, you look at humans, we are so far ahead of the competition. And what happened to get here? Of course, Joe Rogan's theory, we ate magic mushrooms. And somehow,
I wondered if you were going to mention that.
evolutionarily, that made us.
Somehow.
I mean, it was a lot. The Oracle of Delphi, that was like hallucinogenic volcano gas.
Volcanic gases. But I don't think the Oracle's children would have adopted that awakening.
What if the Oracle's children that reacted badly died and did not? So generations and generations of Oracles.
Selectively bred
But then we would.
to tolerate.
But that was after we had separated as humanity from different sources. So,
Everybody's directly descended from the Oracle at Delphi.
yeah, everybody would have been wiped out, and then we started over from Greece. Anyway, they're trying to simulate that in monkeys to say, like, okay, what thing about us makes us aware of the world around us and horribly depressed? And so they're trying that with monkeys. Now, here's the problem. This is kind of it's hard to survive this because monkeys aren't supposed to have genes stuffed into their brains. So of all the monkeys, I think they tried 20 monkeys and 5 survived. So they interviewed person after person who helped with this or wrote about this, and they're like, no, we really shouldn't be doing this. And even if we were doing this and it wasn't terrible, 5 monkeys doesn't mean anything. There's no statistical accuracy. So they talked to the Chinese guy who's like the main scientist here, and they brought that up, and he's like, oh, don't worry. I got a lot more monkeys.
Yikes. I bet, what if they all have like severe anxiety and like mood disorders or something, and that's the price to pay for intelligence?
Like people, I don't think these are happy monkeys.
Well, probably not for any reason.
Google and Dragonfly, been in the news big. Companies take a lot of flack for working with China. And then, of course, Apple helps them, keep the people down and hide things from them.
Foreshadowing.
So maybe a bad idea on Microsoft's part to jump in the ring.
The Irish Times reports on Microsoft has worked with the Chinese military university on AI. Yeah, they're trying to build some hardware and software to recognize objects from video feeds. What could possibly go wrong?
The argument that a lot of privacy advocates are making here is, so you think, okay, recognizing objects with AI, how's that bad? They suspect that video footage of dissent or jaywalking or smoking in public or whatever, they could use object identification to help identify who's in the picture. So if you're in your home and you're live streaming, then it could help the secret police kick down your door.
That's exciting. Somebody's live streaming smoking in China. This is exciting. We're breaking
Eating a banana.
Oh yeah, eating banana on
Not
stream.
allowed.
When you eat a banana on live stream in China, you got to put one of those stickers on it that hides it from the AI. That adversarial.
Or maybe
image.
you eat it more like corn on the cob.
It seems like she's eating a delicious fire truck.
That's a good question. If you slice the banana, can you eat the slices? Or
Is banana pudding okay?
excellent question. And foreshadowing, probably should have put this one right after the other one, put them in a
That's
different
fine.
order. But Apple does whatever China wants. China says dance, and Apple says choose the song you want us to dance to from the iTunes directory.
Apple's music censors, or Apple Music censors a song in China referencing the 1989 Tiananmen massacre and democracy, a watchdog says. So, yeah, the apps, music, anything.
This is not a new song. And did you read the lyrics? Because it's not like Tiananmen Square happened and it was bad. It's very like poetic allusion to the Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
So it's not a direct reference. This is the Chinese government seeing something that seems like a little bit out of line, and they just
That means they have
stamp
good
it out.
translators working for them,
Yeah.
catching that nuance.
And here we have the social media block, which apologies to those people who say that we do too much Facebook news, because this week's social media
Was
is 100% Facebook.
Facebook is, it's amazing because it's so on fire. Facebook to use AI to respect the dead. So what they're talking about, that sounds crazy, right? What they're talking about is like you go to post on Facebook and you post something and it's like, hey, why don't you tag Bob? Bob would like you to post. It's like, Bob died last year.
Yeah. Or they do that thing where it's like, hey, Facebook memories. 1 year ago, you and Bob were hanging out. And it's like, oh, you're not going to hang out this year.
I got a post like that after my previous dog died. It was like, on this day, your dog died a year ago. Do you want to repost? And I was like, oh, no, thanks.
I wonder if this extends. Did your dog have a Facebook account?
No, I had taken it, like, I had posted a picture of her and was like, my dog passed away today or something like that. It was a while ago.
I bet it won't catch that. Because you have
It
to.
did ask if I wanted to repost it a year later. I was like, no, that's okay.
You have to flag the account as the person's dead somehow, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think we talked about before, they're going to freeze the account, and then anything that's posted on the account after the death goes into a memorial section. So you can't go in and reply to the dead person's posts. That's a weird current year
When you said
problem.
AI respecting that, I'm just imagining like a little robot like tipping someone's body into a grave, like just rolling them in.
There's a keyboard with only an F key and a robot hand, and it's just.
It's posted every day.
The other thing that Facebook AI doing when it's not respecting the dead is mapping out the human population.
Facebook is using AI to map population density around the world. What sort of sinister commercial application could they possibly have for doing this?
Got to sell them all internet, man. Here's an interesting. This is
that cotton
actual.
balls on a.
This is actual satellite data showing some density. I don't know what blue versus green means.
Ocean?
Probably racist. But they do have. I thought there was another picture in this article. There's not. But anyway, not the first time Facebook has done this.
There's one.
And the reason is because. Oh yeah.
It's a picture of Africa.
But they've been doing this for a while, but it turns out the work is very tedious because you have to go through all these satellite photos and try to, it's like, okay, that looks like a house, that looks like an apartment building, whatever. But the AI doesn't mind to sit there all day long and do that block by block.
So what you're telling me is this AI could tell you where all the secret military installations are?
Maybe.
Do we still do census?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
But that's...
I remember them coming around like door to door years and years ago when I was like a teenager, but I've never had that happen again.
That's if you don't send it back.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've never sent one back.
Yeah, they came and went around our neighborhood and asked us questions. My mom was mad because she was making dinner.
You answer the door naked and they'll go away.
It's
We
like
learned that the hard way.
It's like a witness. The witnesses.
New Zealand, still stinging from their mass shooting, are pretty much looking to place the blame anywhere that they can. And one place that seems to be an easy target is poor old Mark Zuckerberg.
Facebook are morally bankrupt liars,
Wow.
says New Zealand's privacy commissioner.
That's not even a little bit subtle.
No.
We talked about this every week since it happened, but it seems like Facebook tried really hard.
Yeah.
It seems like they really got on top of it.
He's upset because they're refusing to accept responsibility for harm, which you guys know, we pretty much have an axe to grind with Facebook, right? I mean, not really, but I mean, yeah, kind of. I don't think Facebook has any responsibility in that event.
I would love to see Facebook wiped off the planet, and everybody that's involved I'm not going to include the janitors because it's not their fault. Everybody else, just Thanos them away. You give me a button, I'm going to push it twice. But this is not their fault.
No. That's really horrifying that there are people on Earth that see it that way, because that type of an ideological difference is very dangerous, and dare I say, not too dissimilar from what we see terrorists commit to.
And because of all these things, they list. Actually, we'll do the headline first.
Facebook spent $22.6 million to keep Mark Zuckerberg safe last year. That's a little bit of a stretch for him to afford with his $1 a year salary.
Didn't he do the shoot in the conference room too? We did the story about that.
Yeah, he's got an emergency shoot in the conference room.
Bail out!
Austin Powers, Dr. Evil style.
Now they listed maybe it was a different article.
I'm gonna need a shoot from my office to the ground floor window. We're gonna have to build that in.
It smells a little like almonds.
It jumps down in.
But I thought they itemized. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's your list.
Yeah. So it includes Russia's alleged influence in the 2016 presidential election, revelations Cambridge Analytica, political consultancy hired by Donald Trump's presidential campaign, and obtained personal data from millions of Facebook profiles without consent.
Oh, they're not even including the leaks.
Nope.
Or the poorly cooked goat.
Now, the next line I thought was really interesting. Like, Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg took home $23.7 million in 2018 compared to $25.2 million last year. She got a $2 million pay cut, 2017 versus 2018.
But they all own stocks, so they're making plenty of money. Don't worry about them.
Won't you think of those poor executives and their 20 mouths to feed?
I'm not worried about them. I just think it's interesting that Sandberg maybe got a pay cut, if that's what that means.
Well, remember, he was mad at her for a little while because she wasn't, taking care of all those problems. He had to get directly involved.
He had to run his own company.
It's like,
and that's not acceptable.
Listen, I'm going to cut your salary. It's not going to, this is punishment. This is just a reminder, but I'm not going to cut it so deep that you have to move or give up your house in the Hamptons or whatever.
One of your
third
houses.
home. Yeah.
Yeah. You might have to mortgage one of your houses.
You're going to have to fire one maid.
No, that's going to be rough for you.
She's got a maid that makes $2 million.
You're going to have to fire the entire staff at the summer villa.
50 gardeners.
Yeah.
What kind of prison are you running if you need 50 gardeners?
And maybe the biggest threat to Zuckerberg is not the random crazy that's going to snipe him in public, but those in his own house.
Facebook investors are desperate to boot Mark Zuckerberg from chairmanship.
Oh, no. What do they think that's going to accomplish?
No, well, spoiler alert, nothing, because he still has majority control.
Yeah,
he's got the shares to veto any vote. So I think they're forcing no, that was Bezos. They're trying to force a vote or something like that, but I think he can veto the vote. So yeah,
I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, but I mean, do they think the problems will go away if they had a different chair?
Yes.
Well,
that's not how that works, though. Everyone's still going to remember Facebook as Facebook.
But it's not so much they think the problems will go away. They don't like that one man basically runs the whole show with no oversight. They want somebody from the board, to cycle in and out. And then the votes would have much more power. And he doesn't have his veto status. So
Silicon Valley rejects that thinking. There can only be one brilliant mastermind behind every company.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Who tweets them into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And the troubles with Facebook lately, was it last week this happened or the week before?
I want to say it was the week before. I remember everyone freaked out.
But once again, you might think we're repeating news. Nope, happened again.
Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp were down for more than 2 hours again.
How many?
Stacy was very upset by this.
How many conceptions do you think there were during that? Oh, it was at 6:30 Eastern time, though. So a lot of people probably slept through it.
6:30 p.m.?
Eastern, a.m.
Oh, a.m. Yeah. Well, no. What if you're trying to tweet your workout? Your twerkout, if you will.
Twitter was infected.
Instagram was.
Yeah.
Instagram. That if you're a thought and you're a fitness thought.
What if you were feeling cute? And you might delete later, but right now you're feeling cute. You can't even show the world.
You just have to keep your cuteness to yourself, and that's not acceptable.
Once again, they were very quiet on what the cause was.
Right on the money. I'm going to stop this video at exactly the 1 hour mark.
If you like the longer episodes, give us money.
There was a lot of stories this week. We didn't even go that crazy. Oh,
Stop.
9.
Hello. Today's, April 17th? Yes.
It is. She questions.
Yeah, I immediately forgot. I instantly forgot what we were doing.
And we have business and security to talk about today. And when you talk about business, there is one beacon of light, a golden god at the forefront of all business.
Jeff Bezos just confirmed Amazon's growth is slowing.
Not like this. Is that surprising, though? I mean, they've done literally everything. What else can they grow?
Their only growth now is to shed people.
Well, he's gone into grocery and healthcare. I mean, there's a lot of new avenues that he can follow into. The growth isn't slowing down that much. I mean, he is still conquering the world, or maybe has conquered the world and slowly losing his grip, as is inevitable. But remember, he did that conference call that people recorded, and he's like, yeah, it's an internet company. Someday it'll go away. Our job is to make that day as far from now as possible.
To just ride this wave as long as we possibly can.
Which is probably a good attitude to have.
What would Amazon's replacement look like, I wonder?
I don't think we can predict it, because who predicted Amazon?
Yeah, it was just a bookstore.
The world's biggest bookstore became the world's biggest API vendor.
Yeah. So, what's some little, maybe Tinder will be the next Amazon. Just something totally
Something really bizarre.
Yeah, or Fortnite.
Invest now.
Who could have expected that a stupid battle royale game would become the next major game vendor? And here they are.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
Bezos also had some things to say about minimum wage. And he didn't name any names, but Walmart felt like he was targeting them because he was. And Walmart has replied.
Oh, this is a NBC News story, but
Easy ad block
You can read the top
instructions.
bar.
yeah, it's like, how about paying your taxes? Walmart responds to Amazon's challenge. So Amazon's challenge was, hey, maybe our competitors could pay $16 an hour instead of $1.15. Walmart's minimum wage, I think, is like 10.
11 something, but they also get benefits.
So,
Although Amazon, they get some benefits too, right?
yeah.
So they get 15 plus benefits. Yeah.
So Walmart's like, well, but Amazon, you didn't pay your taxes. So, and a lot of that is because a lot of very wealthy people invested money in Amazon in the beginning. Amazon lost money for a long time, but they also get R&D tax credits because, I mean, Walmart is trying to be the best Walmart that it can possibly be. Whereas Amazon is, let's disrupt all existing business and take it over.
Man, they just made they took Walmart's game and made it better. Because that's
Yeah.
what Walmart did to like small local businesses in my town.
Yeah.
Well, Walmart took over the world with retail locations, and they were sitting on the throne. And Bezos came around, and it's almost like Walmart had the greatest land army the world had ever seen, and Bezos rolls in with an air force. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, bitches, I got drones.
The British Navy of the retail world, if you will.
Yeah.
And the other thing about, we talked about the facial recognition. Amazon is one of the players. Excuse me. I've been screaming at cats all day. Amazon's one of the big players in the facial recognition game. And a lot of people don't like it when tech companies work with the government. They don't like it so much. There's going to be a vote.
Amazon shareholders are set to vote on a proposal to ban sales of facial recognition tech to governments. Yeah, because Amazon's working on that. And it's like, maybe governments probably shouldn't be given this technology because they'll abuse it.
He tried to stop this vote because he still has his power because McKinsey didn't take his voting rights, which was nice of her. But he wasn't able to. So I think May 22nd during the earnings is when they will vote whether or not to shut this down.
They're probably not going to do that because shareholders are like, yeah, if it makes money, we don't care.
Yeah, I think it would lose them a little bit of money.
Rich people are automatically exempt from all this spying nonsense. See also the UK.
The other thing that Amazon is maybe locking horns with governments about are cashierless stores. We talked about the Go store where you just walk in walk out.
Steal with whatever you want.
Yeah, well, you think you're stealing it, but in fact, you get charged for it through Amazon. But here's the thing. Cash is legal tender for all debts, public and private. You kind of have to take it. It's the law. And a lot of people are telling him that.
Under pressure, Amazon plans to accept cash at cashierless Go stores. Philadelphia is the first city set to ban cashless stores. So, yeah. Is it financial discrimination? I don't know. That's the CNN thing.
Well, they go further with the argument that it's unfair to poor and minority people because they have less access to non-cash payments. Why even go that far with the argument?
I didn't think the store would let you in. Like the whole cashless thing was fine because you can't get in it in the first place unless you're a member.
Well, there's another layer of discrimination, right?
Well, I mean, it's fine with like Sam's Club. And I'm sure they have Sam's Club in Philadelphia.
There was we had a story about that where there was some kind of ruling, and if they ruled the wrong way on that, I estimate that every store will have some sort of sign up. Like you'll have to have an app to get into Walmart so they can get around these rules. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Philadelphia at least. Now here's the thing. They have not laid out their plans of how they'll take your cash because there's no cashiers.
Just a big robot that you feed dollar bills that won't let you leave until you give it your cash.
Item in the bagging area. I've given you my money and I've picked it up. Let me leave. Item in the bagging area.
It just like puts one robotic arm around you and goes through your pockets.
You're being detained.
Please relax, citizen.
Let it happen, citizen.
Meanwhile, this is a big Amazon block. One of Amazon's biggest sellers is Alexa. People love it. They like to talk to it. Did you see the video of the parrot who won't let the woman play certain songs on Alexa because it's figured out Alexa stop?
Oh, it doesn't like those songs.
That's a great video. Anyway, the Alexa, it's an amazing thing you can have in your house, but those murder trials and some other leaks, it seems like maybe they're recording those things that you say to it. But maybe they're doing more than recording.
Amazon workers are listening to what you tell Alexa. They have thousands of employees. A global team reviews audio clips in an effort to help the voice-activated assistant respond to commands. My favorite quote from this article is, they're like, well, we don't, we just delete recordings that are obviously private. But if it's funny or interesting, we share it on an office chat thing.
That was off the record. Basically what they did was they went to various places where they have these low-cost call centers, not in America, the international call centers, just bought them. And it's like, oh, you're not a call center anymore. You sit and listen to Alexa. And so the reason they're doing this is they want Alexa to be better. So when they'll pull random recordings, and then these people listen to it and transcribe it and feed it back to Alexa and say, okay, Alexa, this is the context. This is what they were trying to say to you. And Alexa learns from that.
You think it could pick up an Appalachian accent?
Oh, yeah.
But if it can't, it's getting better at it.
Yeah.
Because they're telling it. But what Wendell's talking about is these are just call centers. This is not like, lockdown central. So they did mention that when something really weird happened, it would go into a group chat. Like, hey, listen to this.
What is going on?
Surprising no one, though. I mean, like, if you worked in that office, no way you would, I would never send this to my coworker.
Listen, if you call in with a stupid tech support thing, it's getting shared.
One of the most funny things that I've ever heard anywhere was you remember the old, like, Apple tech support recordings? Like, from, like, the Mac SE era. There's just these hilarious Apple tech support recordings where it's like, you sawed off the back of the computer, and then you did what? And then there was, like, a heavy mouth breather guy that called in, and he's like, I need to get the documentation for the ROM hook. There's a very particular need that I have. So, like, those are on the internet. You can find those. Those are
that makes me really uncomfortable.
It was amazing.
The other thing that they found were at least 2 examples of what they thought might have been sexual assaults.
Oh.
But they were told, that's not your business. Don't worry about it. Just transcribe it.
Good
we
Lord.
have to help Amazon Alexa understand.
Oh no, that's not what the next story is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the other one. Oh no.
What one?
The one about Alexa, or did you cut it?
Huh?
There was another story about Alexa. It's fine.
That was a duplicate.
Was it a dupe? Okay.
wasn't it?
Well, it was a little different, but that's fine.
It was about the transcribers, though, right?
Yeah. Okay.
The big, we talked a lot about Disney Plus, and that's been really in the news because Disney has gobbled up all these IPs, and it seems like they were just consolidating for this kind of thing. But the big question is, how much is it going to cost? Because Disney has a lot to offer. You got Fox, you got Marvel, you got Pixar, ESPN, all this stuff. So what is that price going to look like? Now we know.
Disney Plus to launch in November, priced at $6.99.
Just enough to get people in. The first taste is almost free.
Didn't Netflix launch it around $7?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they admit that they're pricing this to bring people in. They want to get you in there, trap you. Because
And then start jacking the price up.
when your kid watches Frozen 2 every morning as part of their routine, and then it's first of the month, are you going to say no more doing that? Or are you going to pay $10?
Wouldn't you just buy the movie?
Well, but you get all this other stuff. And then when it happens again, are you going to say no or are you going to pay $13? It's just going to keep happening.
And then, or next time, 25
You know what's really
or 35.
inconvenient about owning the movie? Having to take it out of the case and put it in something. I want to just hit
Yeah.
a button and start watching it.
Your kid has broken 3 DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever. So this is going to be huge. Everybody's going to get it, and it's going to be a big thing. One name that we should not be talking about anymore, but keeps popping up because they refuse to die, is Yahoo.
Yahoo!
Yahoo tries again to settle lawsuit over massive data breach. This time it's going to offer $118 million. Yahoo lost everything. They literally
Look at these hacker hands.
Oh, they've got 118 million. They lowballed them last time, and it was rejected. So I don't remember what that was. I think it was less than 100 million. So now they're thinking 118 is the magic number, and the judge gets to decide. If you were affected by that, you've moved on with your life, surely.
No, I cry about Yahoo a little bit every day.
I wonder how much do you think that is per person affected?
like 25 cents.
Might be nice, though, to get that quarter. Of course, they have to ship it to you.
And by
There's
then,
going to be
you know,
overhead.
You have to get those discount stamps.
Please sign up and pay for postage here to receive your quarter.
This is a Facebook story that I didn't put in social media because it doesn't have anything to do with social media. It has to do with Facebook hardware, the Oculus. They got a new Oculus that's coming out, and when you get one, you might feel like taking it apart. If you take it apart, you might find something weird.
It looks like you're using an ad blocker.
Facebook accidentally put hidden messages like Big Brother is watching and the Masons were here inside their new Oculus Rift controller. So this was, they did like a short production run to send to like journalists and industry people and things like that. And then they accidentally, and so this is supposed to be a joke for those people because if they take it apart and find it, but they accidentally mass produced it with the same stuff inside. Oops.
Most people would never know because it's a flexible band, and you would really have to take the whole thing apart and look at the inside of this inside flexible band. But it is the
Facebook
fact,
unironically saying Big Brother is watching.
yeah, when it says Big Brother is watching, and it's not, it makes a little more sense when you realize that this was targeted toward people. One of the targets example was iFixit. If you send something to iFixit, you know they're taking it apart. They're tearing it down. That's what they do. So it's kind of like a little inside joke. But how much trouble do you think the guy who left that in the production run is in right now?
He's not there anymore.
Yeah, he's
He's
probably
gone.
gone.
He's being served poorly cooked at Zuckerberg's mansion.
I think that's undeserved too, because it's like, okay, you guys are happy with the production run. Yeah, everything is good. All right, we're gonna ship these exactly the way that they are. Are you sure that that's right? Yeah, they're good. We tested them. Ship them. Okay. And then it's like, we didn't mean that they were exactly good as they were. We wanted you to make this one little change. It's like, I'm not clairvoyant. I did exactly what you said.
These also haven't been shipped, so they could trash these or rebuild them. But they're saying, you know what? That costs a lot of money. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
Just deal with weird messages that you shouldn't be seeing anyway because you're not supposed to be repairing your own devices. How dare you? YouTube continues its downward spiral. Its death throes as it tries to appease the advertisers by destroying everything that people actually like to watch.
Like, favorite, and subscribe.
And so maybe this could affect us. They talk about quality content. What is this if not quality content? And this is not things that are clickbaity or, quick videos that just try to get the click numbers up, but like actual user engagement. How do you measure it?
To answer critics, YouTube is trying a new metric, responsibility. The largest online video service is trying to reward quality content, not just clips that keep people glued to their screens. Well, it remains to be seen how that's going to help. The most amazing quality thing is the news titles. The news titles are amazing. You guys don't appreciate those, but they're like
Me and Ryan spend literally 10 minutes on those.
Those are amazing.
If I'm going to say this is a major success, if by reward they actually mean demonetize.
Or they actually send it out to all the subs, because there were people that were like, I thought you guys stopped posting, and then it's like, oh yeah, here you go. Or maybe we're just being trolled. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people aren't seeing it, but maybe their interests changed, so YouTube tried to cater their interest to something else.
I get a lot of random recommendations for things that don't make any sense.
Yeah, I keep getting recommendations for cooking stuff, and I'm like, I don't like to cook.
For some reason, I started getting ping pong recommendations.
Because you talked about liking ping pong on the VR stream.
Maybe, whatever. And it turns out I love those videos. Those are fascinating.
Google knows more about you than you do.
It's superhuman what those guys are doing. We talk about Disney Plus, and they're entering a crowded market. The new breed of TV delivery services. There's so many of them, and they all have wildly different prices and services. The old guard of TV is dying, and people like YouTube are trying to get in on that, but it seems to be more expensive than they expected.
YouTube TV costs $50 a month after another price hike, but you do get Discovery. $50 a month seems a little high.
What was that, Krista?
That was me vomiting. Who spends $50 on YouTube?
But regular TV, if you get this, I think comparable channel lineup is more than 50.
Basic, if you get the basic satellite internet, you can get a 3-year deal for $55 a month.
But that's more.
It's $5 more, but you get a lot more channels.
Do you? Because
Yeah.
I don't know what you get with YouTube TV.
Discovery apparently is.
Nah, you get more than that. But they might have listed some stuff here.
Well,
but,
let's see what. Yeah, I bet you get to watch iCarly.
Oprah Winfrey Network.
Wow, I didn't know she still had a network.
HGTV, Food Network, Animal Planet, Motor Trend, TLC, Epics.
So this is nothing anybody wants anyway.
I do like Discovery, but not enough to pay that much for it.
It's that they don't have them anymore. Back when they sold DVDs at stores, that giant bin they had up next to the cashier, where just the most garbage DVD titles, but you get them for $3. Mm-hmm. That's the TV version of that.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper, I don't want your newsletter. Let's talk about
Fox,
Tesla and/or SpaceX, anything that has to do with Mr. Musk. And first, let's talk about the historic launch of the Falcon Heavy.
SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket launches the first paid mission, and it landed all 3 boosters. So all 3 boosters landed successfully. Woo! This is actually cool.
Very cool. And this is the first time that someone just commissioned an entire launch. It was some kind of Middle Eastern communication satellite, I think. Can't remember. I think Saudi Arabia, maybe. Anyway, they launched it. Everything went well. Landed the rockets. All good. And I think that was the least expensive launch like that that's ever happened. So pretty cool.
It's a bargain at only a few $1 billion.
No, it's like 160 million, I think.
I mean, I guess it's still a lot, but not as much as, say, maybe NASA.
Oh, back in the day, just getting a satellite was
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Crazy. The other thing that is Tesla related is the Gigafactory. And maybe not the best news for the Gigafactory.
Tesla and Panasonic have modified, in quotation marks, the expansion plan for the Gigafactory. As in, they're not going to do that right now. They're still planning on it, but they're probably good with the capacity they've got.
They're going to improve current production rather than expand. Seems like there might be a softening of demand for these batteries. Musk, on the other hand, has said on the record that that's not true, and they are absolutely over capacity on demand for the batteries. So
I could see that, like,
He said that on his Twitter.
the grid batteries would maybe be good, but not the car batteries. Because what they did in Australia with the backup power for the grid, that's actually impressive.
we've also had a lot of controversy about the crazy direction changes that Tesla's doing. They were canceling the showrooms, and then they weren't. Now they are again. They were selling cars for less, and then they raised the prices, then they lowered them again, and it just seems to be all over the road. Can't make a decision, and now that continues.
Tesla's original plan for the $35,000 Model 3 is dead. So this seems to be around margin. They wanted to produce a cheap Model 3 that didn't have anything, but it's actually going to cost more to build the production lines for the cheap Model 3 than it doesn't have anything, than to actually sell you a better Model 3 that is software limited.
But even beyond that, the 35,000 model is not for sale online.
Yeah, you got to go.
Seems like they don't want you to buy it. And there's not going to be a showroom pretty soon. So literally, this is all their stuff is online except this car. If you want this car, you got to get on the phone.
Yeah.
Which,
But
Ugh.
the good news is that you can turn your battery capacity up later with a phone call, which you would not have been able to do with the original plan for the Model 3. So I guess that's good.
But
But
a
they
phone
will-
call
yeah,
takes
disgusting, right?
literal minutes.
But they will. Oh, it's way more than literal minutes to do this one, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
They will sell you a different Model 3 with power seats and the bigger battery, and it had like one more feature that was
The
better.
in-car navigation stuff, the software is better.
But it's not going to be 35,000.
No.
So very confusing, the Model 3 world. But if you really want it, you can get that cheaper one, which is it probably is a really good deal. And the reason you would think it's a really good deal is because they're trying not to sell it to you. Everybody has seen this picture at this point.
Yes.
Literally every human on the planet must have seen this picture.
Black hole picture captioned. Black hole picture captured for first time in space breakthrough.
The caption is black hole or sucking sound.
It took a network of 8 radio telescopes, and does it have the picture of the girl with the hard drives? Because it was like a ton of data.
It's got a picture of the girl. There's a
I like the picture of the girl with the hard drives better.
explanation of it. Yeah, they did mention that there's the girl. Now have you gone into
Dr.
the controversy of her?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad.
But the hard drives you were talking about, there was so much data that we had to wait for the thaw to get the Antarctic telescope station. You couldn't transfer the data. You had to actually airlift all those hard drives out.
Yeah.
So we could have had this earlier if not for that.
As Andy Tannenbaum says, don't underestimate the bandwidth of a station wagon hurtling down the highway.
So yeah, pretty cool. And you can't see a black hole, obviously. Nothing escapes a black hole, even light. So we're looking at all the stuff swirling around the black hole at
Like a
super
toilet.
speeds. A lot like a toilet,
A
yes.
cosmic toilet.
What's really awesome is that it matches the mathematical models really well. So Einstein was right again.
Man, what didn't he get right? And this is the young lady. Now, the controversy around the young lady is that she
did the algorithm that actually
I
allowed
think-
them to do the programming to make
Right.
the image work.
the algorithm is hers, but she was widely celebrated. I mean, Reddit, every post on Reddit, one was a picture of the black hole, the next one was a picture of her, then the black hole, then the two of them together, and it just went on and on.
And also
But-
the other famous women in computer science like Grace Hopper and Margaret Hamilton. And
They're the Google Doodles. And but if you look at the Git for this actual program,
it's open source. It's on GitHub, which is awesome.
she did not write the lion's share of the code. There was a young man who wrote 850,000 of the 900,000 lines, I believe, and he was not mentioned anywhere. So the controversy is, was she given credit? Although if she did the algorithm and he didn't,
Did you actually read what he said about it though?
Yeah, the guy, they actually got a quote from the guy.
No, I
The
didn't
guy
see
was
his
like,
quote.
the guy was like, she totally did it.
He was like,
Uh.
half the stuff I did was just generated, and he was like, if we didn't have her math and like her calculations, we wouldn't have gotten the image. Everything we built was around her stuff. So people
Sadly-
who are saying, oh, it's not her, she didn't do anything, like, shut the hell up because you don't know what you're talking about.
That guy's obviously white knighting is what the other people would say, right?
But then he subtly dropped that he was gay, and so it's like, oh no.
He's how appropriate if he's an orbiter.
But
It's very high speed orbiter.
But the people who are all pushing this guy forward, if he's gay, like, is it like, does that invalidate him? They need to find another man to like push forward because that one's gay, and we can't have a woman take credit for it either.
It doesn't matter if he's gay, but it does matter if his time is compressed. Because it'd be an orbit runner.
Chris, do you feel strongly about this? I can't really get a
It
read.
frustrates me. I got really frustrated reading this because it was like, just let her have her moment. I'm not saying that everyone else didn't do work too, because they're all a big team. There was like 3 or 4 teams who were all working together. She was leader of one. But like, just, geez, like, come on.
Well, what about his moment?
He had a moment too. People were interviewing him too.
I don't think they interviewed him until the controversy. But I totally agree with you that if the algorithm was hers, then
Yeah.
that's the new thing.
They have her doing a TED Talk from like years ago. And people are like, oh no, they just pushed her forward now. And it's like, she's a PhD. Like, come on. I don't have a PhD. None of us here at this table have a PhD.
The internet is terrible.
It really is. I got frustrated reading the articles when I
Well-
should have been enjoying the image of the black hole and thinking about how I'm going to die someday.
Well, see, that outrage, I think that a lot of the other thing that happened was that, yeah, a small group of people did that. But I think that whatever, like, the websites need to generate a certain amount of outrage in order to get the clicks.
So they did that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that
It worked, like, because I fell for the bait.
But
It's bait.
I
It's
think
a big one.
she definitely got her moment. I mean, I didn't find out about the controversy stuff until, of course, where would I find that kind of stuff? Our Twitch chat lurkers.
No, see, I found it on Reddit because I was like, oh, that's cool. So I was like reading the article about the black hole, and then I read the comments, and a bunch of the comments had to be like, they were either downvoted or deleted because it was just guys being like, she's not as smart as I am. I browse Reddit a lot, and I understand Rick and Morty, so clearly I'm more intelligent than a PhD candidate.
Well, but that's the comments. But the media response that I saw was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
I'm
For
pretty
everybody on the team, that's a big deal for them.
pretty sure she's going to get her PhD.
But she already has her PhD, I think.
Okay.
I messed that up.
No, I think she's got some employment prospects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not everything good about the black hole. I mean, you think such a feel-good story like an object that's sucking all matter into it.
And that you're
destroying-
feeling really scared of when you think about.
Yeah, destroying entire worlds.
Yeah.
You think that's all positive, but it's not.
China's largest stock photo provider draws fire over use of the black hole image. So China's stock photo provider was like, this is ours. We're going to copyright it. We're going to send takedown notices to people that are using it. And it's like, what?
This was so bad that the Chinese government, who turns a blind eye to all copyright issues, actually got involved.
But yeah, that should tell you something about
And here's the most hilarious thing about it is somebody was like, hey, if you're going to copyright this, why don't you just go ahead and copyright the national Chinese emblem? They did.
Or the flag. Oh, they did again.
I mean, if you really wanted to be a troll, couldn't you just like upload a gradient and then be like, this is the black hole? I bet most people wouldn't know the difference.
But no, they took the image right off of that.
Yeah, off of the news post.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like an image for all humanity. You know, we all own the black hole.
The black hole's gonna own us one day.
The Chinese government, the stock of the company, the stock photo company, declined 10%, which is the maximum allowed under the law in China, which is a strange thing to say.
Sorry.
You say that makes you feel your mortality, but there's no way the black hole is going to kill you before
You don't know that.
you die. I mean,
Wasn't there a thing that said that the image of the black hole, it's like the light from that is like how many millions of years old?
Well,
We're not
most-
even seeing a current image of it. It's
yeah,
crazy.
most of the stars in the sky that you see are gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be like heart disease or your lungs or something, their brain tumor or something like that.
No, the black hole's going to come spiraling through the universe to kill me.
It's not the black
Listen,
hole.
I might not have a PhD, but I clearly know what I'm talking about.
It's not the black hole. It's probably the energetic particles.
Yeah,
One of those
two.
yeah. But not that black hole. Some other black hole whose light is hitting us now is going to give you cancer. That's how it's going to get you.
No, it's gonna spaghettify me, like what my astronomy teacher
But
told me.
if you get sucked into that event horizon, then
You'll never know.
time will.
Will I become like what's his face in Interstellar?
Nah, but they
What's
do.
his name?
The part the swirly part that we can see. The reason we can see those is because they're at like 1 billion degrees because of the rate that they're spinning. So I don't think you'd survive it to get there.
But what's his face did?
A merciful death. Anyway, that's enough about the black hole. Let's talk about ridiculous resolutions.
Just put that in the back of your mind.
Sony creates a colossal 16K screen in Japan.
Look at the size of it. They need something for scale.
Yeah, the camera that took the picture of the screen probably can't even capture it.
It's only 8K. I mean, it has as many horizontal pixels as a 4K television, so it's not really 8K.
Is that an image from The Lion King?
I think it's one of those Disney movies, right?
Well, they're just they're re-releasing The Lion King.
Oh, yeah, it probably is.
So it's 8K across because it's an ultra wide. It's really just no. It's not really. I mean, 16K. It's like 4, but then it's not very tall. So why?
Man, imagine playing Fortnite on that. Be incredible. Now transitioning into the security section, we first must talk about face unlocking. Why it's bad.
Friends trick sleeping man, rob him using his phone's face unlock. So this was in China. Apparently this guy's phone face unlock was not very good because if your eyes are closed, it still works.
Pro relationship tip. If your friends do this to you, they're not your friends.
Well, he took it to the police and he's like, I've been robbed. And the police pretty quickly figured out it was his roommates.
And they gave it back. I love how whenever we see these Chinese embezzlement or thefts or whatever, they never spend the money. They always have it to give back, which shows an amount of caution that I appreciate in criminals.
And it's like, it's been a week. We got away with it. Okay, great. But then the next day, if the authorities show up, it's like,
oh, we should have saved it.
It was a funny
should have
joke.
invested it.
Ha ha.
But if a meth head around here breaks into your car, that money's gone immediately.
Yeah.
You're never getting it back. I don't know what financialexpress.com, what nationality website this is, but they say it's 12,000 yuan, which is, I know I pronounced that wrong, nearly RS 1.25 lakh. What's a lakh? I don't know what kind of currency that is.
India.
Chat will tell us.
Chat, comments, whatever, whoever you people are.
Wow. This, the ad blocker thing on Tom's guide is just absolutely a wreck.
This is the Alexa story.
Well, this is the security version.
Thinking emoji.
Oh, okay. So how to stop Amazon from listening to your Alexa recording. So we covered that earlier. This article is the step-by-step for all of the stuff that you have to go through to turn that off. You can opt out so that they'll never hear your recordings. It's still recording probably.
We can't show you the screenshots, but it's actually pretty basic. You just go to settings and privacy and just say no to all that. Say no to everything in privacy. You don't want any
no privacy. Yes, you want no privacy. No, I mean, no, not no privacy. Okay. That's those confusingly worded forms that we were talking about.
Oh, you know what? We should have just do a quick rearrangement.
Hey, no one knows.
Just
no one needs to know. Just
quick.
Just how you put that idea of the black hole sucking you up and killing you in the back of your mind. Let that come to the foreground again, and then have a panic attack.
So let's just refresh in our minds the idea of privacy settings and changing them to make them better for the consumer.
Chrome, Safari, and Opera have been criticized for removing a privacy setting. This is HTTP click auditing. So this is a feature where if you turn it on, well, it's on by default. So it's just on all the time. When you click a button, a secondary ping is sent to a URL of the website designer's choosing so that an event is generated so that like you click a button and that gets recorded somewhere so that it can be used for analytics or tracking or whatever. You can't turn that off now in Chrome, Safari, and Opera. You can still turn it off in Firefox.
Woo,
Actually,
Firefox.
Off by default in Firefox.
Oh, nice.
Good job, Firefox. Firefox getting it right with all the muting and stopping the autoplay and stop. I think
Firefox is the ultimate browser.
They're working on trying to do something about newsletter pop-ups.
Oh, nice.
That'd be the greatest thing in the universe.
That would be amazing.
Firefox is just like, this web design is an anti-pattern. You are not allowed to do it.
I do enjoy like putting in like admin at website.com.
Most of them have gotten wise to that, I think.
Marketing at.
Because sometimes they'll be like, this address is not valid. Even though I know it's a valid email address. How appropriate that on the week where we have just enjoyed the first new episode of Game of Thrones, we celebrate again a new vulnerability named Dragonblood.
Dragonblood. Vulnerabilities disclosed in the Wi-Fi WPA3 standard and also needed for ruling the Iron Throne.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know who got it yet. We just have ideas.
This is it's a vulnerability that will let them get little snippets of, like the parts that they need to eventually reconstruct your password just by listening.
That's really horrifying because
Really horrifying.
AES encryption should be pretty sturdy, and AES encryption is pretty sturdy, but the implementations are always disappointing.
There's a transition mode for WPA2 to WPA3. If you have a browser where that's enabled, that's a problem here. You can turn that off, or you can just patch. Turns out this has been fixed. So update your router. You should just update your router every week. Just set an alarm. Triton. Now we had what was the name of the other one?
King of the Sea.
Stuxnet. We had Stuxnet, and then there was another one, right? Before this one.
Right.
No, it was a botnet. This is like the safety control thing. Anyway, this one is one of the newest ones, and we thought we understood it, but it's back.
Mysterious safety-tampering malware infects a second critical infrastructure site. The use of the game-changing Triton malware to target safety systems is not an isolated incident. So we're not really sure what the vector is for how this is happening, but it's not good that it's targeting safety equipment. And it's very, very cautious was the word that you would use. It's trying to get embedded in there and not really make itself known, which is...
Well, but in its caution, it sort of reveals it's not trying to pull data. Because most of the time, malware wants to steal something. It's not trying to gain control of the systems or steal data or export anything. It's just trying to worm its way into these safety controls, which is insidious, to say the least. And they don't really give you a lot of details about who it was or what it affected or anything, because they want to try to, really keep this locked down. But it's terrifying because if a chemical plant or a nuclear plant or something blows up, that's bad for everybody. We read about hotels that are constantly leaking data. Marriott was the last big one. Had a giant leak. And Symantec...
They're still asking, do what now?
Yeah, Symantec took a look, kind of audited a lot of big hotels and how they process things online and do all that things and how they send out emails for confirmations. And they found something very disturbing.
2 out of 3 hotels accidentally leak guests' personal data, according to Symantec. Now, this is just from them looking at the websites. So I suspect that part of what they're talking about here is like the JavaScript on the site. Like you got to fill it out and put your stuff in. There's a lot of third parties that can see how you fill out forms. And so Symantec, in looking at that, would basically fail a security audit on 2 out of 3 hotel companies.
And they're doing this on purpose. Maybe not on purpose, but they know that they have these tracking scripts.
Yeah.
They choose to. They're being paid for these. So easy to fix, but they won't.
Turn the tracking scripts off on pages where people enter PII. It's that simple.
But I need to track them.
Yeah.
I must track
How
them.
will I know that I got a conversion so that we can pay our agency?
Yeah.
Who got us like 3 conversions?
I'll bet it's pretty big in the hotel world.
Yeah.
Because people will link directly there from all the various things. Or like travel websites, something like that. That's probably huge.
Yeah.
This was supposed to go with the other track clicking story, but it worked better than the other one, so I don't really have a great lead into this.
Google Chrome engineers want to block some HTTP file downloads. So this is if you're on an HTTPS site that has a link to download an HTTP file, they want that not to work because you might accidentally download an exe file or a zip file containing an exe file or something that otherwise might be malicious or dangerous. Now, there's no effect if you're on an unencrypted website and you download an unencrypted file. Google's Chrome team said, well, you would have already gotten the warning that it's not secure, but you don't necessarily get a warning that you've downloaded a file from an insecure source in the scenario where you're on a secure website that has a link to a non-secure file repository.
We talked about the Exodus spyware, and the Exodus spyware was perhaps unique in the scope of things that it stole from your phone.
Literally everything.
It turned on your mic and maybe your camera and then just exfiltrated every piece of data you had. It just is, full compromise of your phone, and good news for iOS users.
The Exodus spyware has been found targeting the Apple iOS users. So it's trying to steal everything from them. Now, the crazy thing is it's got legit Apple developer certificates. So Apple should know exactly who this is from and be able to track it down. I don't think the Apple security team's doing much these days. Seems like they should be on top of this.
They're like playing Tetris. Got like a little handheld thing, and it's like, hey, there's a security problem. And they're like, they just like kick it off their desk. And
Well, I mean, because you go through Apple's process, that Apple has to have a dashboard or an SQL query or something they can run that it's like, show me all of the applications that demand access to literally everything. That can't be a big list.
Oh, I
Or
bet
it
it's a
might
huge
be.
list. Yeah.
Like the camera and the microphone and the video and the one. Now show me, like, now cross-reference that with apps
Oh, I don't-
not from the Fortune 500.
But no, that's not how it worked because the first app was just a loader.
Oh, yeah.
And then the payload came later that opened everything up. So they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. So might be more of a needle than you think in that horrible, rotten haystack. Well, we talked a lot about fingerprint sensors and the fact that everybody does it a little different. Some people use visual and some people have used lasers to try and scan the finger. One of the most impressive ones was one that did it acoustically. All the little ridges in your thumb, as they land, as you push it down, it detects the same pattern, and they open it up that way. What could go wrong there, right?
Samsung's Galaxy S10 fingerprint sensor has been fooled by a 3D printed fingerprint.
it seems like a lot of work.
Took 13 minutes to print the fake.
They got a picture of it, I think. Oh, maybe it's
It's
just
in the video.
Just in the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, there it's on this little slide here. So it's not very thick. Maybe like an eighth of an inch thick. But boom, there it is. He said it took him 3 minutes, and most of that was waiting on the printer.
Nice.
But how do you get someone's fingerprint?
He used his own. Well, it's pretty easy to get somebody's fingerprint, though.
It's a 3D print?
For the proper depth of it,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's more than just like lifting it off of a print or whatever.
Well, if you could get the image pattern, then you can play with that in the 3D printer. Like, let's put on a 0.2 millimeter layer. Let's put on a 0.5 millimeter layer. You can mess with that in the printer.
Yeah, wouldn't be able to do it in 3 minutes, but still, I'm sure there's some sort of object that you could have somebody just pick up that would leave
Leave enough of an
of an
impression.
indentation. Some of that,
Hey, pick up some of the silly putty for me.
some of that like dental impression stuff. That'd probably do it.
I think you could probably lift the fingerprint for this purpose enough with just a Scotch tape.
Maybe. I mean, you do need the distance. You need to get the curvature. Would
Yeah.
be part of this. So
Yeah.
You can probably do that. Just dusting for
The Z
fingerprints the
index.
old-fashioned way. I've got some of those kits in the basement.
and oh man,
Oh, yeah.
this is a duplicate. The last story. It was supposed to be the last story. It's a duplicate. Oh, we
Major
already did
browsers
this
to
one.
prevent disabling click tracking
I like
privacy
the
risks.
stock photo for this one better.
This is pretty good.
Well, this version of the story has a slightly different take on it. I mean, it's still bad news for users, but there is a lot of stuff that will break without this functionality. So it's a pingback, and it explains what a pingback is and how it works. So if you're interested mechanically in how the whole tracking thing works, this is a pretty good explanation.
We really didn't have a great story to end on in that section anyway, which is why security is Krista's favorite. But Friday, we will have a great story to end with because Friday is Nonsense Day.
We've got
And there's
It's
always a great story.
And it's Good Friday.
I think it's the largest nonsense section in 2019.
That's a bold claim. I'm not going to sit
Yeah,
here and
I
agree
It's
to
close.
it,
Sanction
but,
that.
but we'll see.
We'll see you next time.
I don't think about the black hole. Hello. Today's April 19th, and it is Good Friday. And it's a Good Friday because the news is here, too.
What's so good about it?
Just as the day Jesus was put on the cross in the Christian faith.
Doesn't seem good.
Well, it's the sacrifice part is good. The actual part was pretty brutal when they put him on the cross, but
Well, you know, what was it? He said that, like, you're going to, it's like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I mean, he was a carpenter, right?
and he died by the yes, I read that too. I saw that as well.
Well, in celebration of Jesus' sacrifice, we're going to talk about robots. And the first robots that we'll talk about, oh man, I really yelled at the cats too much today. First robots we'll talk about are Walmart robots.
Walmart plans to add thousands of robot helpers to U.S. stores. I thought this was going to be like the useless robots that just wander around the other supermarkets and warn of spills, but no.
Super useful.
These are
Yeah.
stock robots.
Well, this guy's a
They're not even cute.
This guy cleans. He's a floor scrubber. And then they've also got, they don't have pictures of the other one.
The stalker robot.
They got they have a robot that when things come off the truck and the pallets, the robot scans them and decides what part of the store they need to go to. Then you've got the shelf scanning robot who's deciding if the shelves need to be restocked from the things that the other robot just scanned. And then there was one other one. Do you remember the other one?
No, the floor robot. But
The floor cleaner. There was a fourth one.
Yeah, it might have been the one that just
Four
looks for
horsemen of the
spills.
apocalypse.
Yeah, basically. Now they bring up here that they were like, hey, no associates. The associates love them. They haven't cost any associates their jobs. They help them do things more efficiently. But I don't think it's the associates that clean the floors. I think like a mercenary team comes in overnight and does that.
Oh, clever.
No.
Clever move, Walmart.
Oh, is that not
Clever
true,
move.
Krista?
No, I'm pretty sure that they do because I've seen people like people in Walmart uniforms mopping.
Cleaning a
and stuff.
spill while you're there.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I've not seen them actually
the,
like, Zamboniing the floor.
Have you ever been in there at like 3 a.m. and they actually will put up the caution tape and close off sections?
No, because I'm not a degenerate.
Well, those do not look like Walmart associates who are doing that. They look like migrant workers.
Those are specially
Whoa.
trained Zamboni operators.
Yeah, and they also talk about cleaning the bathroom. I'm almost positive the associates don't clean the bathrooms. So
I don't know. The grocery store I worked at, we did clean the bathrooms.
We
had to do constant checks on them every hour.
we definitely have Walmart employees or former Walmart employees in our chat engagement challenge.
that's true. Yeah, we can find out.
Are
for sure.
our suspicions true?
But anyway, it seems like it's going to be overall better for the shopper because these guys are constantly cleaning, and they talk about cleaning that bathroom several times a day, which you probably need in a Walmart bathroom.
Yes.
They need to
Yes, you do.
decorate the floor cleaning one that they had in the picture. Like, what's the name? Snufflepuggus? Or I don't know.
Snuffleupagus?
That's it. And he's got like the big eyelashes and stuff. Think how cute that would be
There's
coming
no
down the aisle.
you
at
can't even see the title.
Wow.
Oh,
To continue reading, enter your email address.
I don't want to show the picture. You'll have to read the title while they look at the paywall, and then
Yeah.
we'll show the picture.
At the MIT Technology Review, where they demand your email address, a robot has figured out how to use tools. So it wasn't explicitly written to use tools, but it was like it's like a robotic vision system and manipulation system. It's using a bowl.
But what is he using it for? He's just like stabbing things with it.
Pick up this glove.
It's moving things around.
What
with it.
book is that, you think? I can't see the title.
It's impossible to read.
Probably an Asimov book if they're getting their irony correct.
But this is one of those learning algorithms that they're not really giving it anything to go on. I think they did have one that they taught some stuff and one they just let learn. And they talked about how it would use tools, but sometimes in an unexpected way. One of them thought that they gave it the command to just like clear the deck, like get all these items off the deck. And then the item it chose to do that with, water bottle.
So it just sprayed everything with water.
No, it picked it up
No,
and
just-
used it to
yeah.
sweep everything off because that was bigger than its claw,
Oh, okay.
which kind of works. Yeah.
And then it does this with the bowl, and it's kind of like, I don't know what you're going for, Claw.
But that's cool. You got to think in terms of, learning evolution. The first guys working with sticks, probably idiots. Probably didn't do anything useful with them.
And then they learned to sharpen them to a point, and then all of a sudden we've got computers, and then this show.
Oh, maybe we should just go back.
And then eventually the black hole.
Oh, I forgot about that
I
from
love
last
Krista's
episode.
fear of the black the fear of the black hole is even more irrational than the fear of velociraptors.
I don't really fear black holes, but I think they're interesting, like most people do. But I am actually a little bit afraid of raptors. There's some sort of deep-seated phobia from when I was a kid.
The universe was created, which was widely regarded as a
Bad
move.
move.
Someone needs to make one of those like the cartoons where Krista is the girl in The Shining and the black hole is coming through the axe hole.
Someone will do that. They've done some good photoshops of us.
Self-driving cars. Elon Musk says we're there. You're going to have it. Not only are you going to have a self-driving car, it's going to be out earning money when you're asleep. It's going to be the hardest working self-driving car you've ever seen. Google has Waymo, and they say it's ready. We're doing it. But other people are saying, wait a minute.
Ford's CEO has said the company overestimated self-driving cars. So there's this really great graph where it's like, they're at the trough of disillusionment. That's where Ford is right now. They're going to bottom out and then hit the plateau of enlightenment, but they're on the other side of self-driving
I'm
cars.
imagining the CEO of Ford, like, he's on this like call with this journalist talking about this, and he's like, yeah, I just don't know if it's going to work out. And then like through his window, you can see like a self-driving car just banging into a wall repeatedly. People are screaming, things are on fire.
There's a guy trapped under it.
He's like, I just don't know if it's going to work out. And the journalist's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And then he hangs up and just watches from his window.
We should perhaps temper our expectations as they pull the guy literally apart, trying to get him out. It's like it's just his viscera is all over the...
Be a good comic.
It turns out the Ford doesn't even have like a lot of the data or technology to do this. So
yeah, they're saying
problem.
He kept going back to it's like it's going to be incredible eventually, but definitely not right now. Forget it right now. Of course, this matches what we've seen with the Tesla stuff, where it's just running into walls and shit, and maybe we're running a little too enthusiastically into the arms of self-driving when it's not there yet. But as you say, that is the fastest way to get there. It's just throw caution to the wind.
Some people are going to get lead poisoning. That's a
Some people
callback
are
to the
gonna
last
die.
episode.
Yeah.
Sometimes they die.
We shouldn't laugh about that, but that's what
Yeah,
happens.
that
Well,
is
you know
probably
what?
what's gonna happen,
One thing that we should laugh at, and we constantly laugh at and get a good feeling about, their bad luck and the horrible situation that they're in, is Australia. But this week, maybe they're laughing at us.
Google's Wing drones approved to make public deliveries in Australia. That probably is good. Yeah, 18-month trial and 3,000 deliveries.
There it is.
Oh wow!
Look at it. It's got
It's like it's bringing a baby. It's like
it's
a stork.
got its little box, and then they got some pictures. I think
Even if
down
it dropped
here.
that box without a parachute, that's
Video.
still less distance than UPS throws it, so it's probably fine.
I eliminated.
Of course, there's
yeah,
a picture of
gotta be
kangaroos. Wow, what a racist depiction.
There was a different story that had some better pictures.
Oh no! Don't scroll down.
Like it looks like they're interviewing the. What do you guys think of the drone delivery
Sir?
program?
Have you seen that video of a guy jumping out of an airplane, parachuting,
Switch the screen.
and the kangaroo meets him when he lands and whips his ass?
Oh yeah,
It was real mad.
it's like playing PUBG again.
I think that might happen to some
packages.
wing packages. Did I accidentally show this one?
Yes, you did.
Oh, man.
Our next story is about legal weed.
I was going to say, Krista, how excited would you be if you could just get a shipping container that sits outside your house and constantly generates weed?
I don't smoke, so not that excited.
After NJ legalizes weed, that's New Jersey, these tech wizards want to grow tons of it here with robots. So they're talking about how it's actually difficult to grow marijuana, I guess.
Maybe in that part of the country.
And
I've always heard that it's not, thus the name weed. Like it grows
It
like
grows
a weed.
well here.
but
I don't know about New Jersey.
yeah, Jersey's not. It's supposed to be a subtropical type climate almost.
Here's the inside of one of these containers. And
Fungus is a problem apparently.
But of course, there's a lot of people growing weed indoors. I mean, that's certainly not a new thing. There's a whole industry based on it. But apparently the big thing here is they have a camera system that looks at it every 10 seconds. And it knows what good weed looks like and what bad weed looks like.
And if there are diseases, which I thought was the most impressive because the camera catches it so early that there's only about 5% wastage due to any kind of plant disease or plant problem. And typically there's 15% plus wastage. They're also able to grow it faster because they figured out exactly how quickly they can grow the plant without overloading the plant.
Yeah. 12 tons. If you have an average like warehouse size building and you stack them up in it, 12 tons of dried weed. 12 tons. This is a product that you sell by the gram.
Somebody's going to make a lot of money.
Everyone's the whole big thing now that I see everywhere is CBD oil. Like literally on flyers, like in muffins and coffee, it's like, oh, get some CBD oil. And I'm like, is it really? Is that necessary? But
that's
it's more of a medical thing. I think. It's supposed to be. But
There's no high in that because THC is
Yeah.
what gets you high. CBD is like the anti-cancer portion of it, right?
Well, the thing is the reason I saw is because there's a ton of sites on Site Inspire, which is one of the sites I browse pretty often, and they're all CBD oil sites, and they all claim different things, like it'll cure your cancer, you'll feel less depressed, it'll save your marriage, like.
We've got a bottle that I found in the wall that's like, Dr. McCormick's miracle juice. That's like, it's good for a cough and listlessness. And
Well,
That's exactly what CBD oil websites are saying. So I don't know what's true about it.
That bottle you found, the stuff in that was probably super effective.
Yeah, you
because it
should
was
have taken some.
cocaine.
one of the ingredients does say, it's an empty bottle, but one of the ingredients is literally cocaine.
Yeah.
Ooh. That should be on the set back
I
there.
think it's
It's in the basement. It's real stinky.
anti-inflammatory, maybe, is like the big quality CBD is supposed to have, right? And we all are inflamed in some way.
Yeah,
So-
we all did some sort of exercise this
Probably
weekend.
probably
So.
could use. No, I mean just like your average person walking around. Something.
On
Something's going on.
fuego? Is that how you say that's how you say
Fuego is flame, right?
it? Yeah.
In Spanish? I don't know. We're way off the rails.
Well, let's talk about AI and what it can do for us. So we know that it can read our MRIs, it can read our lung x-rays, it can look at our bone x-rays, it can predict certain things about our lifestyle and tell us to go seek medical care.
It can tell heads of state that they're sick when they're not.
And one more thing to add to the list.
AI predicts hospital readmission rates from clinical notes. This is kind of a long way of saying that the AI can predict when the doctors were wrong.
That it's a little scary though. I guess the insurance company would want to do everything they can to keep you from readmitting, but the hospital themselves isn't that just repeat business?
Yeah. It's like the AI concludes that every patient from Dr. Nick is going to be readmitted.
Oh,
Bad news for Dr. Nick, or good news. It's like in terms of your actual performance, low, but in terms of profit, off the charts. I remember.
We reported on this.
It's been I think it's been 6 months. So about 6 months ago, we talked about these guys. It was like, well, do you think they'll really be effective? Well, guess what?
These tree planting drones are firing seed missiles to restore the world's forests. It's been 6 months and they're growing. They're growing a lot of trees really quickly. This is going to be actually very effective.
This is one of the girls who came up with this program.
that's a woman right before she gets hit by a seed missile.
Oh, there's so many jokes there.
I said it and then I was like, oh.
This is one of the 6 months ago trees. This is it now. So, good job.
Nice. So all that we needed for all the reforestation was just for people to plant. Like, okay, it's cool if you're going to deforest this area, just plant some damn trees.
Well, they say that's not all they're doing. They send the drones out, but without education, the people in these communities just kill the little trees.
Because they don't realize. They're probably just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's weeds.
So they actually have to go around and go to all these little places like, hey, by the way, we're shooting seed missiles. This is what it's going to look like. Please don't kill it.
Mm.
Well, that one made it. So good job.
You can see, just out of frame, there's a farmer who's like, I can't wait to tear that down.
He's
He's got a pair of shears.
He's
Like,
got
ready
a
to go.
spade in his hand. It's like, I'm going to fuck that tree up. And now into the design portion, of which Krista has only read 50% of the articles.
Well, I saw the other one, and it wasn't that exciting. You
she
added the
saw
other
it
one.
30 seconds ago when I
Yeah.
loaded it into the thing. But this one,
This one's bizarre. It
This
almost made it into nonsense.
Today's award for most nonsensely named company.
well, not even nonsense, just bad.
It's bad.
Terrible.
Everyone in the comments on this article too was like, "Oh no." Lowlyware has redesigned.
Is that how you think it's pronounced?
I kind of made a weird face there because I don't really know, but it
I would
definitely has a
say-
connotation.
I would say lollyware.
I don't know.
Did no one tell them what that means?
Yeah, one of the comments, someone was like, "This is why companies need to have some sort of like marketing or internet person just to tell them you can't name your company this. This is
I missed that.
It's just
well,
like-
it's so if you're sitting here confused about what this company does, they make straws that literally disappear, so that way you can have
Out of seaweed. That's
Yeah.
that's what the green line is meant to be.
But again, this is supposed to be an eco-friendly company. Why would you use toxic waste green as your brand color? Scroll down some more because there's a picture of like a business card. Keep going a little bit more. Here we go. This picture does not look like a healthy ocean. This looks
That looks fine. It's blue.
It looks awful. And with that toxic waste green, I don't know about all that.
But it's not toxic waste green. It's turtle green. Look at it.
100% plastic-free
Oh,
mounts.
that's,
Yeah.
this is terrible.
Lollyware.
Lollyware.
Designed to disappear.
It's so bad.
I mean,
It's so bad.
When I first saw that, I thought it was one of those video game company that makes those Steam hentai games that you see every day. Lollyware.
If this had been posted on April 1st, it wouldn't have surprised me, but I mean, here we are.
Would you carry that tote bag anywhere?
This is a thing on branding
Ask me
websites.
about
People will
Lollyware.
do tote bags of their brand, and I don't really know like who's that for, but maybe people carry totes for a straw company.
My apologies if you are Exhibit A in the board meeting of why your company needs to pick a new name and logo.
Brilliant concept and application of a wonderful initiative, says Ivan Kalsarov, who's never been on the internet.
There's quite a few more comments where like, who named this?
Designed to disappear.
He pictured like a family.
It's such a good product. That's why it's frustrating.
A family looking at a picture of their daughter and like, oh. Well, and this is the one that Krista, despite trying to have her finger on the pulse of the design world, somehow missed the biggest event. What are you doing?
I'm putting my hand up because, listen, for a web designer, most clients, literally 99.9% of people are not going to know that you have Helvetica, and it's just taking up space on your server.
Why don't you tell them what it is?
Monotype launches the first redesign in 35 years of the world's most ubiquitous font, Helvetica.
Krista, this is older than you are.
It
This
is
big.
It's actually quite a bit older than me.
Look at it.
I see it.
Tell us why it's good.
For most people, it doesn't really make a difference. It's not worth the licensing fee.
I like how the
It
eyes
is
follow the
nice
mouse
'cause-
cursor.
Oh, creative boom.
It is.
job. That's got nothing to do
Helvetica's
with
nice
the
because it has a
font.
lot of weights. But for most people, it's so expensive. I don't recommend it for most clients unless they like really, really want Helvetica.
But look at this water bottle. Hang on. Look at that.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
big.
I do think like I said, I didn't read this article, but that's like looks like they've changed the terminals of some of the characters, but it's so subtle. I mean, I don't know.
That's the beauty
If
of
you're like a typographer, it's probably a big deal. Otherwise,
Ha ha. You can't tell the difference between Arial and Helvetica. Ha ha ha.
but you can.
it. It's gatekeeping.
How do you not? I told you before we started, Wendell. How do you tell the difference between Arial and Helvetica?
One thing you can look for is inside the letter A because it's a teardrop shape in Helvetica, but not Arial.
Yes, but also the terminals
And
because
if,
they'll be at weird angles in like Arial, but in
if you
Helvetica,
get
they're
a
always
business
straight.
card and the A's don't have teardrops in them, just throw it away.
Just rip it in half, burn it.
Also, if it's not, what is it? What's the thing for? It's like Bond 40-pound with the fabric crosshatch, then something. You need an axe and a lot of plastic.
Activision.
Anyway,
They're doing something. I'm not gonna acknowledge the horrible pop culture references. Activision is doing something. Krista, this should be close to your heart because first of all,
we talked about this the other
you're
day.
addicted to Overwatch. Yes, and the 2-year plan.
No. Anyway, continue. Oh, okay. Am I going to read it? Activision Blizzard is reportedly giving its employees gift cards in exchange for anonymized pregnancy tracking data. That's going to be a yikes from me. Yikes.
We talked about this
It's
app.
optional, but it's $1 a day.
We talked about this app before. What was it? Facebook?
Yeah.
It's OV something. It's a
People
play
use
on
it to track their fertility.
Ovia.
Ovia. Yeah. So Ovia tracks your fertility and your cycle and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, and of course the reason should be pretty obvious if you think about it a little bit, it's got to do with tracking your ability to work and your insurance and all that stuff. Anyway, Activision Blizzard, if you're a woman and you will use Ovia and let them look at the data, they'll give you a gift card.
For $1 a day. Every day that you use it.
Nice.
And enter your stuff.
But,
The reporter was like, isn't that creepy? And the response from Activision seemed to be, well, this isn't the first time we've done this, and it's a totally opt-in program.
They use we're not putting a gun to anybody's headline.
Yeah.
but it's like, what if you use this data to eventually be like, oh, this woman's likely to try to get pregnant now. Let's see if we can cut her out so we don't get hit with a lawsuit for cutting her maternity. I mean, maybe they probably won't do that, but what if they did?
Yeah. Well,
Never know.
Yeah.
or what if, like, there's some kind of weird discrepancy, like you've got ovarian cancer. And they're like,
Ooh, yeah.
that's going to be an insurance claim. Let's terminate that employee.
It's a
Let's
little,
give them
little weird.
a poor performance review. We got to cover our bases here. And speaking of lactation, the cows. Now, we did talk about this before when it was just an idea, and some absolute madman has actually done it. They've connected the cows with 5G.
5G connected cows test milking parlor of the future. This is in England. So what happens is the cows come up to the computer, and the computer recognizes them by face, lets them in, gives them a food reward, and robotically milks them.
Now, when I read that, the first thing that came to my mind as a pet owner is, what would stop the cows from coming before they're ready to be milked just for the food reward?
I assume that would be painful for them if they're not ready to be milked.
Could be, yeah. But yeah, you just get robot milked, and you decide, and then it keeps track of who's been milked. I'm sure there's all sorts of beautiful analytics that you can look at it, see which cows are producing, and which one are ready for the dog food
I bet Blizzard's
line.
actually getting ready to roll this out in their offices too. If you'll pump for them, they'll give you $2 a day.
Movia.
All the cows have checked in except for Bessie. Bessie hasn't been milked. Where's she at?
She opted out of the program.
She's selling at black market at the side of the fence.
Unpasteurized milk.
You see this pretty commonly if you go to malls and places like that, and kiosks. A lot of them run Windows, and bad things happen to Windows. It reboots, it blue screens. That shows up on the kiosk. It can be embarrassing, but perhaps more embarrassing when it's a giant building.
The BT Tower has broadcast an error message to the nation all weekend as Windows displays an admin's shame. It was like the Windows boot up screen.
It wasn't really an error, although their disk probably did fail.
Yeah, it's like something.
I like the subheadlines, like metaphor for Brexit. It's like, okay.
That's like their version of Trump. You have to mention it in every article.
Probably Windows 7, maybe. Might have been Vista.
I think they mentioned it was 7. And so something happened to their boot drive, and it rebooted and went back to the select.
What a time to be alive. Yes, reboot the skyscraper, please. The LED signs have gone offline.
The really embarrassing thing
Is that your attempt at a British accent?
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible. The really embarrassing thing is they mentioned it took like a day and a half for somebody to show up and fix it.
It was the weekend.
Yeah, for real though. I mean, that would be expensive.
You got a license to work on this Jumbotron, sir?
Everybody has to have a TV license in the UK.
You're gonna pay me a lot to come out on my day off to come fix your tower.
We all have had our time with Battle Royale. We here started with PUBG, and
Rip, press F.
we tried the other ones. Never could regain the magic.
Well, was the original DayZ the first Battle Royale?
Well, we didn't play it Battle Royale. I mean, we did try Arma. Arma really didn't do it for me though. Like I didn't get the fever again until PUBG. But we've all dreamed, what would it really be like? How, if I really had to do this, what would happen? And I'll tell you personally, all that running, not for me. I'd be holed up. The first gun I found, I'd just be hiding in the corner. Of course, then the wall would get me.
The circle,
but anyway,
yeah.
If you're one of those people who think to yourself, I would like to experience this for real, it's really good news.
Anonymous Millionaire is hiring a game maker for a real-life battle royale. So the millionaire has an island. He just needs a game designer. It's literally the plot of the Hunger Games movie, the first one, in real life with airsoft guns.
Yikes.
You're gonna play the game for 12 hours, and then you're gonna camp for 12 hours, and they're gonna provide the camping gear. But it's gonna be 100 people on an island. Sounds fun. It could be a television show, I suppose.
Yeah, but it'd be tough to follow the action.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's say you film it with drones, just look for the house or the structure with a drone circling it. There's somebody in
Yeah.
there.
How did they do that in the Hunger Games? Didn't they just have cameras on everything?
Yeah. There were
And then they
cameras
would
built
just-
into the trees because the technology was so sophisticated.
And if they got bored, I think they would like trigger events to happen in the arena.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would. I guess they'd have to do that.
But this is airsoft, and you wear a special body armor that detects the airsoft hits.
See, body armor kind of ruins the game though, because then everyone becomes a bullet sponge.
Well, but it detects the hits, so it's like you're out if you take a certain
I was
amount of
making
hits.
a joke because we hate armor.
Oh, right.
PUBG. It's never mind.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Well,
Well, speaking of islands, let's talk about an island who maybe they've done something that we all have wanted to see, but the reality of it is a little scary.
Daily Current Fairs brings us this story. Not affairs, fairs, which is perhaps foreshadowing for the grammar in the rest of the article.
How dare you judge them?
An island where punishment of taking a selfie is the death. That is the headline.
It's a good translation there.
And this was April 9th, so I don't think this is an April Fool's article. It is not well written. It doesn't have a lot of information, but they blame it on pilots. So I think, piecing this together, I think the idea is a lot of planes land on this island, and the pilots have been distracted by the flashes on the ground from people taking selfies, which seems weird at night, maybe. And so the government is just like, no, we're not tolerating this at all. And they've now made that a violation that could actually carry the death penalty. I don't think that you'd get that, but why risk it?
Yeah.
Why not just kill him right outright, you know?
It's an island in Thailand.
I believe it's pronounced Thailand.
Was that supposed to rhyme?
No.
Island in Thailand. That could be a song.
A crappy one, but yeah.
The Chinese, as we know, they love to track things. They really like tracking things, from their students to their dissidents, to people who jaywalk, to people who don't pay their debts. And now you just add another one to the list.
These Chinese sanitation workers will have to wear location tracking bracelets now. They've scaled back a little bit, though. The location tracking bracelets would also monitor how much they were working and would say, please return to work if they were in one area too long.
20 minutes.
They've scaled that back a little bit, and now it's just going to report their location.
Which, you know, when they get back to base, if they were in one area for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
someone is going to say something like, you need to not do that. So it's funny because the advocacy groups spoke out about this, and then there were headlines about it. Then they scaled it back to take out the one little, like you're talking about, the 20-minute part. And all the headlines were, advocacy groups have won again. They've gotten what they wanted from the government. And they were like, wait, no, that's not true at all. This is still terrible.
I'm focused on this image here because it's like the workers, and that's just a picture of birds.
Well, that's the camera.
No, I like to imagine it's the birds who are the workers.
You think
who are
the
being
birds
tracked.
are picking up? Well, those birds are picking up trash, I'm sure, all day long.
They probably dump it again later, but
Yeah.
Doesn't Disney have birds trained to pick up cigarette butts at this point?
Here's a picture of the bracelet. It's pretty big.
look, I mean, think how cool you'd look with one of those on your arm.
Those sanitation workers probably don't get state-of-the-art technology. These are literally the child monitors from 5 years ago that they just didn't sell.
Yeah, and so here is their ability to track them over an area. That's a lot of sanitation workers. Oh well, I guess the trash gets picked up on time, right? When you think about the space station, I foolishly imagined a very sterile, dead environment because, of course, you know, there's no life up there other than us and the things we bring with us. But apparently I was dead wrong.
The International Space Station is a cesspool of bacteria and fungi.
When you think about it, though, I mean, that kind of makes sense. It's like, ew, I bet that is probably full of nastiness. I bet they don't take Clorox wipes up there with them.
No.
Well, that's probably their only way of bathing is some kind of wipe.
That's true.
Don't things mutate really fast in space, too?
I guess we're going to find out. We take things up there to study it like this, but these were not things we took on purpose. This is just stuff that's coming out of your skin and your butt and your mouth.
Your
and
butt.
It's
Your
once
butt
it
juice
gets in
just
there,
floating around.
you may leave, but all of your funk stays on the station. There's no escape.
We literally created the Andromeda strain.
Could be. I imagine, of course, when we abandon that thing, we'll just let it burn in the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
So probably nothing will survive.
Probably not going to spray astronaut poop over eastern Montana.
Let's hope.
Probably.
Let's hope that happens. Oh, buy an ad removal pass. I won't.
Across the U.S., popular video doorbells are making videos of their own thefts. So people will run up to people's houses and steal the video doorbell, which is still connected to their accounts. So you can see the video of the theft.
It makes sense because they are worth hundreds of dollars, but I think the activation process,
It's probably tied
probably
to a
gonna
specific
stop them,
account.
yeah, it's married to a specific, so they're going to know that it's stolen. But I guess if you're, jonesing for meth, you're not thinking that through, and it doesn't
And if
help.
you don't know a lot about tech and you're just trying to sell, like buy something like that,
Yeah, and these things are mounted externally with screws that can be taken out, so they are. Watch
just
out
like
for
the
it.
copper wiring in everybody's houses.
A little
It's
easier.
just behind the drywall. It's
Yeah,
easy.
easier to access than the copper wire. Although, in itself connected to some wire. So maybe you can pull that out too.
Get a little extra.
Yeah, bonus. Why not? This one is, I put it in nonsense. It doesn't really count as nonsense, but it doesn't go with any of our other sections. So this one, Krista, you should replace your dread fear of the black holes. Make some room for this.
Makes room for the Black Plague instead. So it turns out that
We don't know that's what it is.
deadly germs and lost cures of mysterious infections spanning the globe in a climate of secrecy. So the New York Times is talking about this fungus that is highly resistant to everything.
A fungus among us.
There is a fungus among us. And they talk about one of the hospitals aerosolized hydrogen peroxide. And like there was this one hospital room that was so badly infected that they aerosolized hydrogen peroxide and baked that room to get in every nook and cranny to like
Kill it.
disinfect the room. And it killed everything in the room except for the fungus.
Yeah. And they can kill it in small batches, but it grows so rapidly and it just spreads through the place. Now, here's the terrifying part about it. This is not a one-off event, and it's not recent. These we're talking about 2015, 2016. It's all been kept a secret because the hospital doesn't want you to know that there's this horrible thing all through the hospital that they can't do anything about. So no one's been talking about it.
How many deaths are attributed to it, though?
Well, it doesn't kill you outright.
Imagine it's like, what, a secondary infection on top of whatever else you have?
If you've got a weakened immune system, yeah.
Generally, somebody who's already, like there was one man who was in his 90s. He brought it in, and it spread from his room to the entire wing. But he eventually died. But he was going to die anyway. And you can't kill it. They got nothing then. And they're blaming the overuse of antibiotics and antifungals and stuff like that.
The antifungals seem to be linked to pesticide use. So, like, it may be that it's not antifungal in, like, a clinical setting, but actually antifungals that are used on plants, which is an interesting take.
Krista, how ironic if it's the mushrooms that kill you. The mushrooms that you
Disappointing.
love.
I saw a huge, I don't know what kind of mushroom it was. This is not related. I went on a hike yesterday, saw a giant mushroom, and it was like the size of my hand twice. It's huge.
Pics or it didn't happen.
I do have pics of it with a whistle for like a size comparison.
Not a banana.
No, I don't have a banana with me.
You're not even prepared to hike.
I actually ate a banana on the way to the trail, so I guess
Here
I
is,
think I'd
well, you
need
could have
it.
used the skin. I should have kept it for a measuring device. Here's a story another one that I had to make sure this was published on April 8th, so I'm fairly certain this is not a April Fool's joke, but it is disgusting.
Cadbury and Heinz have teamed up to create the cream egg flavored mayonnaise.
imagine mixing that in with your tuna.
I don't know what you're supposed to put this on. Bread?
Bread?
So
The flesh of your enemies? I don't.
vinegar and Cadbury egg.
This is some British stuff. I mean,
But they say it's real. You can't buy it yet, but they are going to have a special like Easter tasting of it.
oh, what a blessing that will be.
Yeah, nice. Look forward to that.
This is how the zombie outbreak happens. Like, anybody that eats this turns into a zombie.
But who's going to eat it?
The fungus will eat it, and it'll mutate again.
That'll be the thing that can kill the fungus.
Oh, wow. That'd be a twist no one saw coming.
Mad Mike Hughes, if you're saying, who? Who is that? Well, let me remind you, he's the guy who keeps trying to launch himself into various parts of the sky to prove that the Earth is flat.
Oh, yes, I remember this guy.
Yeah. Turns out he actually managed the last launch. I think we talked about it, but we didn't follow up. He hurt himself a little bit, but for the most part, he did it.
Not enough to actually deter him.
Well, not enough to deter him, nor to determine is the Earth round or flat. So what's he going to do? Try it again, but higher.
Flat Earth Movement's Rocket Man plans to travel to space and Antarctica. This time he hopes to travel 62.8 miles above the planet. And he said, and I quote, if I don't get government clearance, I'm going to go out and do it on the ocean.
So here's his rocket.
That doesn't look space-worthy.
That looks, yeah. That looks like a little bit of air will just blow that right apart.
Well, there's going to be something on here.
I'm pretty sure the thing that I saw in Star Trek First Contact is the minimum thing that is space-worthy, and this ain't it.
So, once again, of course, Star Trek is exactly the reality of spaceflight. He says, I'm going to put cameras on this thing, and everyone's afraid for me to do this because that's the only way that we're ever going to find out the truth is if I do this. As if we have not launched things into space covered in cameras.
The truth is out there, Ryan.
I feel like Elon Musk, if Elon Musk could refrain from Twitter, he could use that fine money to just fly this guy down, stick him on a Falcon rocket, and be like, let's go up. Let's have some fun.
But even if we did that, I don't think we could silence the flat earthers because apparently this guy is not well liked in the flat earth community.
Because he's trying to find proof for their weird beliefs.
Well, I don't know, but for whatever reason, he is, you're either on it, you love him or you hate him if you're a flat earther.
Whenever the reporter called, he was apparently adding decals to the rocket, so there's that.
That's good. I wish him luck. I'd like to see him take it up.
For 62 miles in that, sounds like a death
You
trap.
put a coexist sticker on it?
Like I said, I'd like to see that. Love to watch it.
This one's amazing.
Wow. 80 degrees, Krista. There's no storm right now.
I'm so confused.
Krista's dying for rain.
Well,
She's
I'm just
praying for
confused because Chris Bailey, that liar, told me it's supposed to rain today, and it's not, and I'm confused.
It was a conspiracy. He
Yeah.
wanted the sunshine for himself.
He did.
He's bottling it right
Well,
now.
now it's
for
like
resale.
windy as hell, but
Anyway, this is from a Kentucky website. It has no business being a Kentucky website. They're rebottling the news, much like Chris Bailey is rebottling the sunshine. But they're talking about a robot criminal.
Oregon deputies raid a bathroom with guns drawn and find a trapped Roomba. So this lady called 911 freaking out because there was somebody in her bathroom and it was locked from the inside and she could see shadows moving around under the door. So the police were there in a minute. That's a pretty good police response.
that's a pretty good response time. Unfortunately, it was a Roomba.
It was a Roomba.
So, oops.
They burst into the bathroom, guns drawn, and it was just a Roomba.
They just shoot at it for like 10 straight seconds, like
Now,
fill it full of lead.
this begs a couple of questions. The first being, how did the door get locked? And the second being, how did the Roomba get in there?
Well, I can see the Roomba getting. I don't know how it locked the door, unless it was doing something terrible inside there.
What if it went into the bathroom and got behind the door and then just closed the door through its natural vacuuming motions?
What they don't know is that minutes before they got there, the Roomba was in there shooting up heroin.
He's got track marks on his little rim. I like the picture that they did here. Most wanted captured.
That's nice.
When they printed the debug log from the Roomba, it said, "Why was I built to feel pain? That's why I had to do the heroin."
Also, Krista, look at the sidebar here. Chris Bailey's fast cast.
Chris Bailey's here to taunt us. He was all like, "Oh, tornadoes tomorrow, storms," and it's like 80 degrees and sunny. I'm confused. Chris Bailey lied to me. Why did you lie to me, Chris Bailey?
Well,
It's been another week of the news.
that's all we got. Thanks for hanging out.
That's it.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good Easter.